Adventure. Chapter 31. How they went to church. 1849. So cold I feel my armor. Quoth Volker presently. Methinks the night is wearing. And soon will ended be. I mark that by the breezes. 'Twill very soon be day. Then many a man awoke they, who still in slumber lay. 1850. The morning light broke over the guests within the hall. Hagen began on all sides the warriors to call, to know if to the minster, to matins they would fare. Meanwhile, in Christian fashion, the bells were chiming clear. 1851. So diverse was the chanting. Thereby, 'twas plain to see that Christians and heathens were not in unity. And yet the men of Gunther to church would go withal. They from their beds together had risen one and all. 1852. The warriors then arrayed them in clothes so finely wrought that better raiment never by heroes had been brought to any king's dominions. Ill did it Hagen please. Said he, now should ye, heroes, don other suits than these. 1853. Enough about the matter. Ye surely understand. Ye should, instead of roses, bear weapons in the hand. For caps beset with jewels, take shining helms and good. Since we are well advised of wicked Kriemhild's mood. 1854. This day must we do battle. I will to you declare. Instead of silken doublets, ye should your hauberks wear. And in the place of mantles, take bucklers good and wide. That if they seek a quarrel, the brunt ye may abide. 1855. My well-beloved masters, your friends and kinsmen too, go now unto the minster. That should ye gladly do. And pray to God Almighty in your distress and need. For know now, of a surety, that death is nigh indeed. 1856. See, too, that ye forget not aught ill that ye have done. And with true zeal and duty stand ye before God's throne. Of this, right noble warriors, I warn ye well afore. Save God in heaven may grant it. Ye'll hear no masses more. 1857. They went unto the minster, the princes with their men. But in the hallowed precincts, bold Hagen spake again, and bade them halt, lest any should leave the company. None knoweth what the Hun folk to us may do, said he. 1858. My friends, set down your bucklers upright before your feet, and answer ye to any who may unkindly greet with deep and deadly sword stroke. Hark ye, to Hagen's rede. So will ye find it worthy to serve you in your need. 1859. With that Hagen and Volker, the twain together, went in front of the great minster. 'Twas done with this intent, that they might make it certain that the king's wife would need to crowd them as she entered. Their mien was grim indeed. 1860. Then came the land's upholder, and eke his lady fair, and decked about the body with raiment rich and rare. One saw the doughty warriors along with them go by. The dust aloft was whirling from Kriemhild's chivalry. 1861. Now when the mighty ruler in armor saw arrayed the kings and their companions, how quickly then he said, why thus my friends behold I marching with helmets on. 'Twould grieve me, on my honor, had aught to them been done. 1862. I'll gladly make atonement, however they think good. If any here have vexed them, in either heart or mood, I give them full assurance. That sorely vexed am I. And whatsoe'er they bid me, I'll do it readily. 1863. To this made answer Hagen. By none have we been harmed. It is my master's custom to go thus fully armed to every courtly meeting, until 3 days have run. To Etzel we will tell it, if aught to us be done. 1864. This answer made by Hagen. Kriemhild heard right well how hatefully upon him her sidelong glances fell. Yet would she not more frankly her country's customs own, though they to her a long time in Burgundy were known. 1865. Yet though her hate towards him so cruel was and fell, if anyone to Etzel the truth had dared to tell, he doubtless had prevented what came to pass ere long. But none of them would tell it. Her mastery was so strong. 1866. Then with the queen advancing, there came a mighty band. But this same pair of warriors deigned not to take their stand 2 handbreadths further backward, which made the Hun folk wroth. Aye, they must press and jostle with those bold heroes both. 1867. The chamberlains of Etzel were ill content at this, and would upon the warriors have somewhat wrought amiss, if they had dared to do it. The king's high grace before, there was a mighty jostling, but so far nothing more. 1868. When service now was ended, and they would thence be gone, all suddenly on horseback appeared full many a Hun, and many a beauteous lady was with Kriemhild seen. Full 7,000 warriors came riding with the queen. 1869. Kriemhild with her ladies within the window sat, along with royal Etzel. Well pleased was he thereat. Fain would they see the jousting those doughty heroes showed. Aye, in the lists before them, what warriors strange there rode. 1870. And thither had the marshal, the right brave Dankwart too, come with his squires attending his lord's own retinue. With him, too, he had taken from the Burgundian land the steeds for the bold Nibelungs. Well saddled were at hand. 1871. When they their steeds had mounted, the kings and every man, forthwith the stalwart Volker to counsel them began, that all should tilt together after their country's mode, in course of which, thereafter, the chiefs right nobly rode. 1872. For what the hero counselled, they did not underrate. The crowding and the shouting were both exceeding great. Within the wide enclosure was gathered many a man. Then Etzel and Kriemhild to gaze thereon began. 1873. 600 knights together upon the field appeared, the warriors of Dietrich, coming the guests toward. They thought with the Burgundians some knightly sport to try, and would, had he allowed it, have done it readily. 1874. Ay me! What goodly warriors forthwith towards them made. But when to the Lord Dietrich the news thereof was said, with Gunther's men forbade he that any sport should be. He feared for his retainers, and surely need had he. 1875. When they of Bern passed onward, and from the place had gone, the men from Bloedelin of Rudigers came on. Before the hall 500, with shield on arm rode they. Well pleased had been the Margrave, could they have kept away. 1876. Then wisely, as behoved him, He rode the host throughout. And said unto his warriors. They could no longer doubt. But that the men of Gunther ill will towards them had. If they would leave the combat, he would in truth be glad. 1877. When these now had passed onward, high-mettled heroes bold, came horsemen from Thuringia, as hath to us been told. And then the knights of Denmark, 1,000 gallant men. One saw right many a lance shaft fly in the onset then. 1878. Then Hayward came and Earnfried unto the tournament. The Rhinelanders a challenge to them had proudly sent. The warriors of Thuringia were offered many a joust. In many a noble buckler were lances deeply thrust. 1879. There, too, the lordly Bloedelin came with his thousands three. By Etzel and Kriemhilde right closely watched was he. For all the knightly jousting was held within their sight. The queen rejoiced to see it, for Burgundy's despite. 1880. And Giebeck and Scrippen unto the melee rode, with Hornboge and Ramung, all in the Hunnish mode. They held the lists withstanding the chiefs of Burgundy, and over the king's palace the shafts went whirling high. 1881. Whatever was done by any was nothing else but sound. Loud was the din that echoed palace and hall around, from clash of shields and bucklers, by Gunther's liegemen made, whence praises and great honor unto his folk were paid. 1882. The ardor of their pastime so mighty was and great, that from the goodly horses whereon the heroes sate, the snow-white foam was soaking through the caparisons. In every courtly fashion they sought to meet the Huns. 1883. Then up and spake the minstrel, Volker the fiddle player. I trow that to withstand us these warriors will not dare. I've ever heard it said that they hate us verily. Now is the time to show it. A better ne'er will be. 1884. Straightway unto the stables. So Volker loudly cried, we'll have the horses taken, till towards the eventide we'll ride some further courses, if there be time enow. What if to us Burgundians the queen some praise allow? 1885. Then saw they some one coming, with stately mien rode he, such that no other huntsman with him compared could be. Belike in some high lattice a sweetheart there he had, no knightly bride was ever then he more fairly clad. 1886. Then Volker said, how can I pass over such a chance? Yon darling of the ladies must feel a thrust of lance. There's not a man could help it. 'Twill stand him in his life. I care not though I anger thereby King Etzel's wife. 1887. For love of me, forbear ye. King Gunther quickly spake. These people will upbraid us if we the onset make. Let ye the Huns begin it. More seemly 'twere, I ween. Now all this time King Etzel was sitting by the queen. 1888. I'll make the hubbub greater, quoth Hagen, in his turn. We needs must let the ladies and these same champions learn how we can sit our horses. 'Twill be good sport withal, though little praise to any of Gunther's men befall. 1889. Then rode the ready Volker into the fray again, whereby had many a woman ere long right grievous pain. The noble huntsman's body transfixed he with his spear, which soon both wife and maiden bewailed with many a tear. 1890. With hurtling speed did Hagen rush forward with his men, his 60 chosen warriors. And quickly rode he then upon the fiddler footsteps, to where the joust was held. Both Etzel and Kriemhild plainly the whole beheld. 1891. The kings were all unwilling their minstrel brave to leave amid the foemen fighting, and succor none to give. 1,000 heroes therefore towards him deftly rode, in high accomplished fashion. They did whatever they would. 1892. When that the noble huntsman in death was stricken low, one heard among his kinsmen complaints and cries of woe. And all the folk were asking, who can this deed have done? Volker, the fearless minstrel. Yon fiddler is the one. 1893. For swords and bucklers called they, and held them soon in hand. The kinsmen of this margrave, of the Hungarian land, they would have set on Volker, and slain him where he stood. The host ran from his window, with all the haste he could. 1894. Then rose a mighty tumult among the people all. The kings and their attendants dismounted at the hall. Behind the throng his charger sent each Burgundian. King Etzel came, to sever the nobles he began. 1895. From one of the Huns' kinsmen, who chanced by him to stand, he seized a deadly weapon, and wrenched it from his hand. Then drave the people backwards, for very wroth was he. How vain unto these warriors had been my courtesy. 1896. If ye had slain the minstrel before my very face, so spake to them King Etzel, that were a foul disgrace. For well I marked him riding, what time he pierced the Hun, and through no fault on his part, but by a slip, 'twas done. 1897. To leave my guests in freedom, I charge ye to take heed. So gave he them safe conduct. Then led they every steed unto the hostile stables. And many squires they had, right diligent in service, who did whatever they bade. 1898. The host into the palace took with his friends his way. No wrath in any of them would he allow to stay. The tables were made ready, the water was brought in, yet bitter foes in plenty had they from o'er the Rhine. 1899. Ere all the lords were seated, a good long time was spent, whilst tortured was Kriemhild by cares within her pent. She said, I seek thy counsel, O Prince of Bern, thy grace and aid. In sooth my business is now in evil case. 1900. Then Hildebrand made answer, a worthy warrior he, whoever slays the Nibelungs shall have no help from me. Nay, not for any treasure, thereby he grief may get. These knights of ready courage have ne'er been conquered yet. 1901. And, in his courtly fashion, thereto Sir Dietrich spake, O mighty queen, I pray thee, thy purpose to forsake. To me thy kinsmen never have done such injury, that I the gallant warriors in combat would defy. 1902. The wish doth ill beseem thee, most noble prince's wife, that thou anent thy kinsfolk wouldst plot against their life. Trusting unto thy favor, they came unto this land. Siegfried is not avenged by aid of Dietrich's hand. 1903. When she could find no falseness, the knight of Bern within, then on the spot she promised to give to Bloedelin a far extending marchland, which Nibelung owned of yore. As Dankwart shortly slew him. He thought of it no more. 1904. Quoth she, thou oughtst to aid me, my good Sir Bloedelin. For in this very palace are now these foes of mine, who slew my husband Siegfried, so well beloved of me. To him who helps avenge him, I ever bound shall be. 1905. To her then answered Bloedel, Lady, be sure of this. To them, for fear of Etzel, I dare do not amiss. Since he thy kinsman happy is ever fain to see. And did I aught to hurt them, he ne'er would pardon me. 1906. Nay, rather, my lord Bloedel, your friend I'll ever be. Guerdon of gold and silver I will bestow on thee, and eke a lovely damsel, Nibelung's betrothed bride, whom thou mayst love and cherish right gladly at thy side. 1907. The land, too, and the castles, all unto thee I give. So, noble knight, thou mayest in gladness ever live, if thou but winst the earldom, which Nibelung held in fee. Whatever today I promise, in truth I'll give to thee. 1908. When now the noble Bloedel the Guerdon heard her tell, and seeing that the damsel in beauty pleased him well, by means of strife he purposed to earn this lovely wife. But for that cause the warrior was doomed to lose his life. 1909. Unto the queen then spake he, within the hall go back, ere any guess my purpose. An uproar I will make. Hagen will have to answer for what to you he wrought. King Gunther's man, I warrant, shall bound to you be brought. 1910. Now arm yourselves, cried Bloedel, my gallant liegemen all. We will upon the foemen within the hostile fall. I may not be acquitted of this by Etzel's wife. On this must every hero among us stake his life. 1911. When the queen found that Bloedel was on the fray intent, she tarried there no longer, but back to table went, and sat beside King Etzel, and with his men as well. She for the guests' undoing had taken counsel fell. 1912. Since means there were not elsewise to cause the strife to start, Kriemhilda's olden sorrow lay graven in her heart. She bade them bring to table King Etzel's little son. How could a vengeful woman more cruelly have done? 1913. Then went that self-same minute of Etzel's liegemen four, and thither from his chamber the young King Ortlieb bore unto the prince's table, where Hagen also sate. The boy was doomed to perish through Hagen's deadly hate. 1914. As soon as mighty Etzel espied his little son, he turned to his wife's kinsman, and spake in kindly tone. Now, my good friends, behold ye, my only son is he, and eke your sister's offspring, which well for you may be. 1915. If he his kindred likens, he'll be a gallant wight, right powerful and noble, a well-grown man of might. Should I live some while longer, he'll own a dozen lands. So look ye for good service at my young Ortlieb's hands. 1916. I therefore fain would pray you, O well-loved friends of mine, when ye are homeward riding unto the river Rhine, that ye upon the journey would take your sister's son, and let your loving kindness unto the child be shown. 1917. And rear him up in honor, till he to manhood grow. If any in your borders hath wrought you any woe, when he is of full stature, He will your vengeance aid. King Etzel's wife Kriemhild heard also what he said. 1918. If unto days of manhood the child should grow and thrive, these thanes, I trow, said Hagen, their trust to him will give. Yet the young king, meseemeth, is of a weakly sort. Folk will not often see me attending Ortlieb's court. 1919. The king looked round at Hagen. This speech had vexed him sore. And though, with princely breeding, he spake thereof no more, his heart was very heavy, and troubled was his mind. Nor was the mood of Hagen a whit to joy inclined. 1920. The princes all were sorry, together with the king, that of his child had Hagen e'er spoken such a thing. With ill content they bore it, nor knew they aught at all of what through this same warrior was shortly to befall. Adventure. Chapter 32. How Bloedelin was slain. 1921. The warriors of Bloedel were ready for the fray. Clad in their 1,000 hauberks, they thither took their way, where Dankwart with his yeomen still at the table sate. There rose between the heroes a strife of deadly hate. 1922. As soon as the Lord Bloedel before the table went, Dankwart the marshal met him on greeting due intent. Right welcome to our hostel, Lord Bloedelin, are ye. Although I greatly marvel, what may the reason be? 1923. Thou hast no need to greet me. So answered Bloedelin. For this my coming bodeth an end to thee and thine. Thanks to thy brother Hagen, who erewhile Siegfried slew, that to the Huns thou lt answer, and many another too. 1924. Nay, say not so, Lord Bloedel, the Marshal Dankwart said. Else must we rue too quickly. This journey we have made. I was but a small stripling when Siegfried lost his life. I know not what against me bringeth King Etzel's wife. 1925. No more about the matter. No I to say to you, save that your kinsman did it. Gunther, and Hagen too. Look to yourselves, ye lost ones. Ye go not hence away. By death must ye the forfeit unto Kriemhild pay. 1926. What? And will nothing turn you? Cried Dankwart thereupon. Would I had ne'er besought you, that better were undone. Up from the table sprang he, the warrior swift and strong, and drew a keen-edged weapon, that heavy was and long. 1927. Therewith he struck at Bloedel, with stroke of sword so fleet, that off his head was smitten, and lay before his feet. Be that thy wedding dower? The warrior Dankwart said, unto the bride of Nibelung, whom thou wouldst woo and wed. 1928. Tomorrow they may plight her unto another one, if he will earn the guerdon. The like to him be done. A faithful-hearted huntsman Dankwart aware had made, how that the queen against him such grievous plots had laid. 1929. When now the men of Bloedel saw how their lord lay slain, then from the guests no longer their hands could they restrain. With broadswords high uplifted, they sprang in deadly mood upon the youthful warriors, which ere long many rued. 1930. Then loudly shouted Dankwart unto his followers all, well see ye, noble yeomen, how things are like to fall. Ye hapless ones, be wary. In sooth there's need to be, albeit noble Kriemhild bade us right lovingly. 1931. They to whom swords were lacking reached down before each seat, and many a long stool lifted from underneath their feet. Then the Burgundian yeomen no longer would forbear, and heavy stools made bruises through many a helmet there. 1932. How grimly thus the strangers essayed their lives to save, and so the armed assailants from out the house they drave, yet left they dead within it 500 men or more, and all of the defenders were red and wet with gore. 1933. These tidings of disaster were carried presently unto the knights of Etzel, which grieved them bitterly. How Bloedelin and his liegemen had all to death been brought, which deed had Hagen's brother with his retainers wrought. 1934. Ere yet the king had heard it, urged by the hate they bore, the Hun folk donned their armor, 2,000 men or more, and marched against the yeomen. What else was to be done? And out of all the people they left alive not one. 1935. Before the house the traitors had led a mighty host. On guard the foreign yeomen stood bravely at their post. But what availed their valor? They all were doomed to die. And presently arose there a gruesome butchery. 1936. And here ye must a marvel of monstrous import here. 9,000 yeomen lying, all done to death there were. A dozen knights moreover, of Dankwart's own command. One saw him all forsaken amidst the foemen stand. 1937. The uproar was abated, the clash of arms was o'er. Then looked athwart his shoulder Dankwart the warrior. He spake, woe for the comrades who from my side are gone. Alas, that, midst the foemen, I now must stand alone. 1938. Upon his body showered the sword strokes keen and rife, ere long to be bewailed by many a hero's wife. His shield aloft he lifted, and held the arm-brace low, and drenched full many a hauberk with life-blood's crimson flow. 1939. Then cried the son of Aldrian, woe for the ills I bear. Make way, ye Hunnish warriors, and let me to the air, that the wind's breath may cool me. A battle-weary wight, right royally he bore him in all the people's sight. 1940. But when the strife-worn hero outside the hostel sprang, what fresh swords on his helmet again and ever rang. They who had not yet witnessed what wonders wrought his hand, now rushed to meet the warrior from the Burgundian land. 1941. Now would to God, cried Dankwart, I had a messenger to seek my brother Hagen, and make him well aware how I amid these warriors so sorely am bested. Hence surely would he help me, or lie beside me dead. 1942. Then spake the Hunnish warriors, that herald must thou be, when we before thy brother a course shall carry thee. So first shall Gunther's henchman what sorrow is be taught. Thou hast unto King Etzel such grievous damage wrought. 1943. Said he, now stint your threatenings, and further backwards get, or verily I'll drench you some other hauberks yet. I will myself the story before the court lay bare, and eke unto my masters my grievance great declare. 1944. He laid on Etzel's liegemen so heavily his hand, that not a man amongst them durst him with sword withstand. Yet in his shield their lances so quickly did they aim, that he was fain to drop it. So heavy it became. 1945. Him, now no longer shielded. They thought to overwhelm. Ha, but what deadly gashes! He cut right through the helm. Until before him staggered full many a valiant one, whereby much praise and honor the gallant Dankwart won. 1946. From one side and the other, upon him hurtled they. Aye, some of them too quickly had come into the fray. Before the foe up stood he, e'en as a woodland boar. At bay the sleuth-hounds' faces. Could valor e'er be more? 1947. His path was newly sprinkled with life-blood warm and wet. No single-handed warrior had ever striven yet against a host of foemen, as he had boldly done. Folk marked how Hagen's brother to court right nobly won. 1948. By sewers and by butlers was heard the clash of swords. From many a hand the liquors were flung upon the boards, as were the victuals also, which to the hall they bear. And stalwart foes in plenty forestalled him at the stair. 1949. What will ye now, ye sewers? The weary warrior cried. In sooth for all the strangers, good cheer ye should provide. And to the nobles ought ye good victuals to convey. And to my well-loved masters, let me my tidings say. 1950. Who were by force before him upon the stairway sprang. On each of them so sorely his heavy sword he swung. In very dread their safety further aloof they sought. And so his strength of body right mickle marvels wrought. Adventure. Chapter 33. How the Burgundians fought with the Huns. 1951. Within the door and entrance, thus gallant Dankwart made the household folk of Etzel to stand aside he bade. The whole of his apparel bespattered was with gore. A mighty naked weapon within his hand he bore. 1952. Then loudly Dankwart shouted before the assembled throng. Bestir thee, brother Hagen. Thou sittest all too long. To thee and God in heaven appeal I in our need. Yeomen and knights together lie in the hostile dead. 1953. And he cried back in answer. And who hath done it then? Quoth Dankwart, the Lord Bloedelin, together with his men. But dearly hath he paid it. That would I have you know. I smote his head from off him. Mine own hand gave the blow. 1954. 'Tis but a little grievance, quoth Hagen of Tronge. We ne'er one has occasion of any thane to say that he by hands of warrior was of his life fordone. So much the less fair women for him have need to moan. 1955. Now tell me, brother Dankwart, why all so red ye be? Methinks that thou art wounded, and sufferst grievously. If in the land he liveth, who this on thee hath done? Except the foul fiend save him, his life's as good as gone. 1956. You see me whole and hearty. With blood my clothes are red. But from the wounds of others it thus hath happened. And they have been so many that I have slain today, that verily their number on oath I could not say. 1957. He answered, brother Dankwart, see to the door do thou, and let not of the huntsmen a single man come through. I'll reckon with these warriors as need we have, in faith. Our men-at-arms are lying in undeserved death. 1958. If chamberlain I must be, the gallant man replied, To serve such mighty rulers, I am well satisfied. I'll answer for the stairway, as honors dear to me, unto Kriemhilda's warriors. Naught could more direful be. 1959. It is to me a marvel. Hagen thereafter spake. What meaneth all the fluster these Hunnish warriors make? They think they well could spare him, who yonder door doth hold, and hath these high concernments to the Burgundians told. 1960. Long time about Kriemhilda have I been wont to hear, that she her bitter sorrow was not content to bear. Now drink we to her darling, for royal wine will call. The princeling of the Hun folk shall be the first of all. 1961. Then the child Ortlieb slew he, Hagen, that warrior good, so that from sword blade downward flowed o'er his hands the blood. The infant's head was severed, and on the queen's lap fell. Then rose amongst the warriors a slaughter horrible. 1962. With double-handed sword stroke he dealt a blow at large against the man of learning, who had the child in charge. His head all in a moment before the table lay. In good sooth for the teacher it was but sorry pay. 1963. He saw by Etzel's table a certain minstrel man, and Hagen in his fury to fall on him began. His left hand on the fiddle he lopped off suddenly. There's somewhat thou canst carry for news to Burgundy. 1964. Woe for my hand, cried Werbel. The minstrel, wilt thou say what evil I have done thee? Lord Hagen of Tronje, in all good faith I journeyed unto your master's land. The notes how can I finger, since I have lost my hand? 1965. But little heeded Hagen, though he ne'er fiddled more. He wreaked within the palace a vengeance grim and sore upon the knights of Etzel, of whom a host he slew. Death dealt he in the palace to people not a few. 1966. The ever-ready Volker up from the table sprang, and in his hand right loudly his fiddle bow outrang. Right fearsome was the music that Gunther's minstrel played. Aye, mid the gallant huntsmen, what enemies he made. 1967. Up sprang, too, from the table the noble rulers three. They gladly would have stayed it, ere mischief worse should be. But all their wit availed not the rising storm to quell, when Volker joining Hagen to such wild raving fell. 1968. When saw the Lord of Rhineland the fight could not be stayed. The prince himself fought also, and many a wide wound made upon his foemen's bodies. Their shining mailcoats threw. A hand-strong hero was he, as now all grimly knew. 1969. The stalwart Gernot likewise was forward in the strife. Aye, he among the huntsmen took many a hero's life. A keen-edged weapon wielding, by Rudiger 'twas given. By him were Etzel's warriors right grievously bedriven. 1970. The young son of Dame Ute into the fight now dashed, and gloriously his broadsword right through the helmets crashed, to grief of Etzel's warriors of the Hungarian land. There wrought were many marvels by gallant Giselher's hand. 1971. How the kings and liegemen were valiant in the fight. Above them all right plainly did Giselher in might stand forth against the foemen. He was a hero good. Such wounds he dealt, that many fell weltering in their blood. 1972. The men of Etzel also stood stoutly to the foe. There one might see the strangers go hacking to and fro with their bright glancing weapons all through the royal hall, and horrid shrieks from all sides upon the ear did fall. 1973. They who were on the outside would to their friends within, but found that at the doorways small vantage they could win. Out from the hall right gladly would they within it fare, but none of them would dankwart let up or down the stair. 1974. Thereby around the gateways a mighty press arose, and din of helmets also beneath the broadsword blows, and thus the gallant dankwart fell into sore distress, but that his brother heeded as bound in faithfulness. 1975. For thereupon to Volker Sir Hagen cried aloud, "Now look you yonder, comrade, how round my brother crowd the Hunnish warriors closely, and blows upon him rain. Friend, go and help my brother, or we shall lose the thane." 1976. "That will I do full surely," answered the minstrel man, and straightway through the palace his fiddling he began. His hand with his stout broadsword full often music made. To him the Rhenish warriors unbounded thanks repaid. 1977. And soon the gallant Volker to dankwart came and said, "Today no little trouble hath fallen on your head. Your brother hath enjoined me to lend a helping hand. If you'll look to the outside, within the door I'll stand." 1978. Dankwart the ever ready without the gateway stood. Well guarded he the stairway, let any come who would. One heard the clang of weapons in the bold hero's hand. The like, within, did Volker of the Burgundian land. 1979. Loudly the valiant minstrel shouted across the throng, "The hall is closed, friend Hagen, with bolt and barrier strong. The door of Etzel's chamber is safely barred as well. 2 heroes' hands that hold it 1,000 bolts excel." 1980. When Hagen, lord of Trange, knew that the door was fast, his shield back on his shoulders the goodly chieftain cast. First fell he to avenging the ills upon him wrought. Of longer life his foemen had then but little thought. 1981. The Prince of Bern no sooner had seen how matters went, and how the mighty Hagen so many helmets rent, then sprang the Amelung ruler upon a bench, quoth he, "The liquor Hagen giveth is vile as drink can be." 1982. The host was full of sorrow, good cause had he to rue. What friends of him beloved before his eyes they slew, and hardly from his foemen unscathed himself came he. In grief he sat, what profit was it a king to be? 1983. The mighty Queen Kriemhild to Dietrich called and said, "With all your manhood give me, O noble knight, your aid. By all those princes' merits, erewhile of Amelung land, should Hagen once have reached me, my death were close at hand." 1984. And how am I to help you? Lord Dietrich answering said, "Great Queen, when I have reason myself to be afraid, these followers of Gunther with wrath so sorely burn, that I with no one's safety can now myself concern." 1985. Nay, say not so, Lord Dietrich. Thou noble knight and good, this day make plain to all men thy kind and virtuous mood. In that thou hence wilt help me. Or I am like to die. Her fears had brought Kriemhild to sore anxiety. 1986. Can I do aught to help you? I verily will try. Since never have I witnessed, for many years gone by, to such deep wrath enkindled, so many a warrior good. I, through the riven helmets, I see the surging blood. 1987. This thane of proven valor, with power began to shout, like unto horn of bison. His voice rang loudly out, until its strength re-echoed the wide-walled stronghold round. The mightiness of Dietrich was great beyond all bound. 1988. When Gunther heard the clamor proceeding from this man, above the noise of battle, to hearken he began. Said he, the voice of Dietrich is to my hearing plain. I trow that our retainers some friend of his have slain. 1989. I see him on the table. He beckons with his hand. Ye friends of mine and kinsfolk, from the Burgundian land, cease fighting for a season, and let one hear and see what to the thane hath happened, through them who follow me. 1990. And when the royal Gunther besought and gave command, they, in the stress of battle, halted with sword in hand. So great the power he wielded, not one durst strike a blow, whilst him of Bern he challenged, with readiness enow. 1991. Said he, most noble Dietrich, what hath to you been done by any of my people? I'm willing, be it known, amends and satisfaction right readily to give. Were any man to wrong you, right deeply should I grieve. 1992. Then answered the Lord Dietrich, naught hath been done to me, but let me leave the palace, with your safe conduct free, and get with my retainers from this fell strife away. For that I'll owe you service, assuredly for I. 1993. Then unto him spake Wolfhart, why ask ye grace so soon? That door, I trow, the fiddler hath not so closely done, but we can force it open enough to get away. Now hold thy peace, cried Dietrich. The devil thou dost play. 1994. Then spake the royal Gunther, that will I let you do. Out of this place depart ye. Many be ye or few, but not a single foeman. Here stay they everyone. They have anent these huntsfolk, so basely to me done. 1995. When Dietrich heard that saying, he took beneath his arm the noble queen, sore stricken with sorrow and alarm. Upon his other arm he took Etzel with him then. There also went with Dietrich 600 goodly men. 1996. Then up and spake the Margrave, the noble Rudiger, if any from the palace be yet allowed to fare, who still are fain to serve you, to us let it be known. For thus may peace enduring betwixt good friends be sown. 1997. Whereto made answer Giselher, of the Burgundian land, to you shall peace and pardon be granted at our hand, since you and your retainers were heir of faithful heart. You all shall, unmolested, hence with your friends depart. 1998. When Rudiger the Margrave departed from the hall, 500 men went with him, or more, belike, in all, who came from Bloedelin, liegemen and friends as well, by whom unto King Gunther great mischief soon befell. 1999. Meanwhile a Hunnish warrior, who saw how Etzel went by Dietrich's side, to profit. Thereby was all intent. But with his sword the minstrel fetched at him such a slice, that at the feet of Etzel his head lay in a trice. 2000. When that the country's ruler had got outside the place, he stopped and looked behind him, towards where Volker was. Woe's me for this dread stranger! A cruel destiny it is that all my warriors must dead before him lie. 2001. And woe upon this feasting! The noble sovereign cried. For one, by name of Volker, is fighting there inside, like to a savage boar. And yet a minstrel he. I thank my Lord and Saviour, I'm from that devil free. 2002. Right evil sound his measures. His strokes are bloody red. Aye, and his tunes have smitten full many a hero dead. I know not what against us this minstrel doth attest, for never have I harboured so downright ill a guest. 2003. They'd let from out the palace as many as they chose. Then from the folk within it a fearful din arose. The guests for what had happened a dire revenge would have. Aye, Volker the undaunted, what helmets then he clave. 2004. Gunther, the noble ruler, turned at that noise around. Hear'st thou yon music, Hagen, which Volker there doth sound? Amid the Hun folk fiddling, who through the door would go? He hath a blood-red straker upon his fiddle bow. 2005. It grieves me beyond measure. Hagen in answer spake, that I before that warrior a seat in hall should take. I have been his companion, as he was likewise mine, and we shall I be faithful, if hence we ever win. 2006. Now mark, great king, how Volker doth thee and thine uphold. Right willingly he earneth thy silver and thy gold. Through steel of hardest temper his fiddle bow will smite. He breaks from off the helmets their shining crests and bright. 2007. I never saw a fiddler so nobly hold his own as this same warrior Volker throughout the day hath done. On helmet and on buckler his music ringeth clear. A gallant horse deserves he, and raiment rich to wear. 2008. Of those of Hunnish kindred who had been in that hall, not one was left within it alive amongst them all. Now silenced was the uproar, for none there were to fight. Aside was laid the weapon of every gallant knight. Adventure. Chapter 34. How they cast forth the dead. 2009. Down sat the knights and nobles, by all their labours spent, before the hall together. Volker and Hagen went. These warriors overweary leaned on their shields for rest. The while betwixt the couple passed many a ready jest. 2010. Then Giselher, the warrior from Burgundy, outspake. Dear friends, ye must in no wise seek yet your rest to take. The dead folk must ye carry straight from the house away. There'll be another onset, that can I surely say. 2011. Beneath our feet 'tis needful they should no longer lie, and ere by storm the Hunsmen undo us utterly. Some wounds we yet will give them, e'en as I love to do, for firmly am I minded, said Giselher, thereto. 2012. Well's me for such a master, said Hagen, thereunto. From none such rede were likely, save from a warrior true, as we from my young master this very day have had. I trow all ye Burgundians may therefore be right glad. 2013. Then followed they his counsel, and carried through the door dead warriors 7,000, and cast them there before. At foot of the hall stairway they fell upon the ground. Then rose a doleful wailing from all their kinsmen round. 2014. Some few there were among them whose wounds were not so bad, but that with gentler usage they yet might life have had, who from that height down falling in death must needs lie low. For this their friends were wailing, and grievous was their woe. 2015. Then spake the fiddler Volker, a goodly hero he. Now witness I the truth of what hath been told to me. Base cowards are these Hunsmen. They wail like womankind. These sorely wounded bodies they ought to tend and bind. 2016. Then deemed a certain Margrave. He spake with purpose good. He saw one of his kinsmen who lay amid the blood, and clasped his arms about him, and sought to drag him thence. Then shot the ruthless minstrel, and slew him with a lance. 2017. And when the others saw it, a panic seized the crowd. They all against the minstrel began to curse aloud. Then plucked he up a javelin that tempered was and keen, which by some Hun or other aimed at himself had been. 2018. This, right across the fortress, he cast with might and main, far o'er the crowd of people, and thereby Etzel's men he warned to take their station more distant from the hall. The folk his mighty prowess now dreaded above all. 2019. Yet still before the palace stood many 1,000 men. Sir Volker and Sir Hagen began to parley then, and unto the King Etzel all in their minds to tell whence grievous ills thereafter those heroes bold befell. 2020. To give the people courage. Quoth Hagen, "'Tis but right that ever should the nobles be foremost in the fight. Not otherwise my masters have here been seen to do. They hew right through the helmets. Blood flows at every blow." 2021. So valiant was Etzel, he straightway gripped his shield. "Now prithee be thou wary," said to him Dame Kriemhild. "Offer unto thy warriors gold overflowingly. If Hagen yonder reach thee, death will be nigh to thee." 2022. So bold a man the king was. He was not to be stayed. The like of such great princes can seldom now be said. Needs must they by his shield strap to draw him backward try. Again the savage Hagen spake to him scoffingly. 2023. It was a far-fetched kinship. The warrior Hagen cried that Etzel and Sir Siegfried to one another tied. He was Kriemhilda's lover ere she set eyes on thee. Thou coward king, why shouldst thou take counsel against me? 2024. To him so speaking hearkened the noble sovereign's wife. Thereon within Kriemhilda was evil humour rife, that he should dare upbraid her in face of Etzel's men. Against the guests began she therefore to plot again. 2025. Who Hagen, lord of Tronje, will do to death, she said, and hither at my bidding will bring to me his head. For him the shield of Etzel I'll fill with ruddy gold, and give him lands for guerdon, and goodly burgs to hold. 2026. Now truly, quoth the minstrel, I know not what they lack. I never yet saw heroes so sluggishly hang back. When one hath heard them offered, so noble a reward. From this time forth can Etzel ne'er hold them in regard. 2027. Of those who vilely batten upon their prince's bread, and now are fain to shun him in his most pressing need. Of such here mark I many, who would be reckoned brave, and stand like very cravens. Shame must they ever have. Adventure. Chapter 35. How Iring was slain. 2028. Thereon the Margrave Iring, who came from Denmark, cried, I have in all my doings on honor long relied, and in the people's battles oft gained the mastery. Now bring to me my weapons. Hagen I will defy. 2029. Gainst that will I take counsel. Hagen in answer cried, so bid these Hunnish warriors stand further yet aside. If 2 or 3 among ye should rush into this hall, back down the stairs disabled, I'll send them, one and all. 2030. For that I'll not forego it, said Iring, answering, I have ere this attempted as troublesome a thing. With sword in hand against thee, I'll hold my own alone. What boots thy haughty bearing, that thou in words hast shown? 2031. Then quickly in his armor Thane Iring was clad, with Earnfried of Thuringia, a bold and gallant lad, and eke the stalwart Hayward, with full 1,000 men. Whatever part was Iring's, that would they all maintain. 2032. The fiddler saw them coming. A very host they were, in arms along with Iring, to set upon him there. On head, well fastened, wore they right many a helmet good. Then waxed the gallant Volker, wrathful enough in mood. 2033. Now dost thou see, friend Hagen, how Iring yonder goes, who swore that thee in sword fight he singly would oppose. Doth falsehood fit a hero? Him I misprize therefore. He brings with him in armor 1,000 men or more. 2034. Now call me not a liar. The liege of Hayward said, I'm ready to accomplish what I have promised. For fear of no man living, will I my word disown. How dread soe'er be Hagen, I'll stand to him alone. 2035. Then Iring begged his kinsmen and followers, at their feet, that they would let him singly in fight the warrior meet. Unwillingly they yielded, for well enough to them was known the haughty Hagen from Burgundy who came. 2036. Yet he so long besought them, that 'twas at last agreed. For when his people saw him so bent upon the deed, and that he strove for honor, they could but let him go. Thereon a grim encounter befell betwixt the two. 2037. Iring, the Thane of Denmark, aloft his javelin bare, and held his shield before him, that noble knight and rare. Then up the steps to Hagen, before the hall he ran. Amongst the thanes assembled, a fearful din began. 2038. Then from their hands the lances they forward hurled with might, right through the strong-bound bucklers, upon the harness bright, so that the broken spear shafts were whirled high in the air. Then clutched they at their broadswords, that grim and gallant pair. 2039. The strength of doughty Hagen, it was a mighty thing. Yet Iring's blows upon him made all the house to ring. From palace and from turret echoed their strokes again. Yet not availed the warrior his will on him to gain. 2040. So Iring turned from Hagen. And left him scatheless yet. Against the fiddle player. Forthwith himself he set. Him, with his sturdy sword strokes. He thought he might compel. But these the well-skilled chieftain. Knew how to parry well. 2041. Then smote the fiddler sorely. Till o'er the buckler's side. By Volker's hand the plating. Was scattered far and wide. So was he fain to leave him. A gruesome man was he. Then Iring rushed on Gunther. The lord of Burgundy. 2042. And stout enough for combat. Was either of them made. Hower on one another. Gunther and Iring laid. Neither could wound the other. To draw a drop of blood. From that their armor saved them. So strong it was and good. 2043. Eke Gunther left he standing. And on to Gernot ran. And smote till from his hauberk. The sparks to fly began. And yet the sturdy Gernot. The knight of Burgundy. So dealt on gallant Iring. That he was like to die. 2044. Then from this prince he hurried. Swift-footed was he too. And 4 of the Burgundians. The hero quickly slew. All noble court retainers. From Worms on Rhine they were. Then wrath could ne'er be greater. Than that of Giselher. 2045. Now, by the Lord. Sir Iring. Cried Giselher the lad. For these thou needs must pay me. Who lie before thee dead. By thee this moment slaughtered. Then ran on him straightway. And smote the knight of Denmark. So that he needs must stay. 2046. Beneath his hand succumbing. Down fell he in the blood. And all were well persuaded. That now the hero good. Ne'er more would wield a weapon. In battle anywhere. Yet Iring lay unwounded. In front of Giselher. 2047. From blows upon the helmet. And clashing of the sword. His wits were sorely stricken. And scattered all abroad. So that the gallant warrior. Of life took no more thought. This by his strength of body. Bold Giselher had wrought. 2048. When from his head the numbness. At last began to go. Which had erstwhile come on him. From that o'erwhelming blow. Thought he, I still am living. Nor wounded anywhere. Now know I for the first time. The strength of Giselher. 2049. On one side and the other. His enemies heard he. Were they his case aware of? The worse for him would be. And likewise had he noted. That Giselher was by. He pondered how 'twas likely. He might these foemen fly. 2050. How madly then upsprang he. From out that bloody stew. Unto his ready fleetness. His thanks were surely due. Out of the place forth rushed he. But there saw Hagen stand. And smote upon him swiftly. With all his might of hand. 2051. Then to himself thought Hagen. Death thee for this must have. Unless the devil help thee. Thyself thou canst not save. Yet Iring through the helmet. A wound on Hagen made. This did the knight with Vask. That was so good a blade. 2052. No sooner felt Sir Hagen. The smarting of the wound. Then terribly his weapon. He whirled in hand around. Forthwith must Hayward's liegeman. For safety flee again. And Hagen down the stairway. To follow him was fain. 2053. Above his head bold Iring. His shield made haste to lean. And if that self-same stairway. Yet thrice its length had been. Hagen had ne'er allowed him. To deal a single stroke. Ay me. The sparks so ruddy. That from his helmet broke. 2054. Yet back unto his people. Iring in safety won. Then soon unto Kriemhild the tidings were made known, how he had wrought in battle on Hagen of Tronje, for which her thanks right hearty. The queen began to say. 2055. Now God reward thee, Iring. A hero good thou art. Much hast thou me encouraged, and comforted my heart. Lo, now on Hagen's raiment, all red with blood I look. With her own hand Kriemhild his shield, in kindness, took. 2056. So much you need not thank him. Quoth Hagen, if again with me he'd try his fortune, it would beseem the Thane. If ever thence returned he, a valiant man he'd be. The wound will serve you little, that he hath given to me. 2057. That you have seen my hauberk, by blood of mine made red, unto the death of many, hath me embittered. Against that liege of Haywards, I have the utmost wrath. Albeit the warrior Iring hath done me little scathe. 2058. Meanwhile the man of Denmark into the wind had gone, to cool him in his hauberk. His helmet off was done, and all the folk were saying, his prowess was right good, whereby they made the Margrave exceeding bold of mood. 2059. Then presently spake Iring. My friends, now mark ye well, that ye must arm me quickly. I'll try another spell. If that o'erbearing tyrant I yet may bring to book. His shield was hacked to pieces. A better one he took. 2060. Full speedily the warrior was better armed than e'er. A javelin right sturdy, with hate in heart he bare, wherewith once more with Hagen he purposed there to fight. With foe-like mien awaited for him that murderous wight. 2061. But brooked not the Thane Hagen to stay for his advance. He ran full speed towards him, with blows of sword and lance, until he reached the stair's foot. His wrath was fierce and dread, and all the strength of Iring stood him in little stead. 2062. They slashed right through the bucklers, till each of them began with ruddy fire to sparkle. And ere long Hayward's man, by the broadsword of Hagen, was desperately smit. Through shield and armor, never mote he get well of it. 2063. When that the chieftain Iring was of the wound aware, his shield unto his helmband he raised, to rest it there. He thought that with this damage he now had got his fill. The liegeman of King Gunther had more to give him still. 2064. Before his feet did Hagen a javelin espy, and with it straight at Iring the Danish chief let fly, so well, that from his forehead the shaft thereof stuck out. For him the warrior Hagen a cruel end had wrought. 2065. Iring must needs betake him the Danish folk unto, but ere they loosed the helmet from off the chief, they drew out from his head the lance shaft. Then death to him came nigh. His kinsfolk all were wailing. Well might they, verily. 2066. Then came the queen towards him, and over him she leant, and for the stalwart Iring gave to her sorrow vent. She wept, his wounds beholding, and bitter was her grief. Then spake unto his kinsman, that brave and gallant chief. 2067. I pray thee stint thy weeping, most noble lady mine. For what avails thy sorrow? I must my life resign, because of wounds and damage that have been dealt on me. No more will death allow me, Etzel to serve and thee. 2068. Then unto the Thuringians and to the Danes he spake. The gifts that ye were promised, no hand of yours shall take. From yonder royal lady, her ruddy gold so bright, death's visage must ye look on, if ye with Hagen fight. 2069. All pallid was his colour. The seal of death he bore. The ever-valiant Iring. To them, 'twas sorrow sore. For Hayward's gallant liegemen, there was no hope of life. And so the men of Denmark must forward go to strife. 2070. Earnfried as well as Hayward sprang forth the hall before, with warriors 1,000. A horrible uproar on every side resounded, mighty and clamouring. And at the Burgundians, what lances sharp they fling. 2071. And then the gallant Earnfried straight for the minstrel made, at whose right hand redoubt great injury he had. For lo, the noble fiddler the Landgrave's sword did smite through firmly fastened helmet. He was a gruesome wight. 2072. And thereupon Sir Earnfried the valiant minstrel smote, till rents perforce were riven across his ring-wrought coat, and all his breastplate quivered with sparks of fiery red. Albeit fell the Landgrave before the fiddler dead. 2073. Anon were met together Hayward and Hagen bold. I wot that whoso saw them a marvel might behold. From hand of either hero the sword strokes followed free, for doomed to die was Hayward by him of Burgundy. 2074. When Danes men and Thuringians their leaders saw in death, then rose a frightful struggle. The palace walls beneath, or ever they the gateway, by might and main had won. Full many a shield and helmet were shattered and fordone. 2075. Give way, then shouted Volker, and let them all come through. What they would fain accomplish, they can in nowise do. In but a short time after, they're bound to die within. And what the Queen hath promised, by dying they can win. 2076. Now when these haughty chieftains within the chamber went, of many a one amongst them the head was lowly bent, for by their rapid sword blows to perish he was fain. Well fought the gallant Gernot and Giselher the Thane. 2077. There got within the palace 1,000 men and 4. One saw their flashing falchions, as through the air they tore. Of all who came within it, soon every warrior fell. One might of the Burgundians, full many a marvel tell. 2078. Thereafter was a silence, and all the uproar died, while, out of hole and crevice, blood flowed on every side, and ran into the gutters, from all the corpses there. Thus had the men of Rhineland wrought by their prowess rare. 2079. Then sat they down to rest them, those men of Burgundy, their weapons and their bucklers they presently laid by. Yet still the gallant fiddler before the palace stayed, in case that any other to fight with him essayed. 2080. The king lamented sorely, as likewise did his wife, and maids and matrons also. A-weary were of life. I ween that death had taken an oath to do them ill, whence, by the guests to perish, were many warriors still. Adventure. Chapter 36. How the Queen bade that the hall be set on fire. 2081. Now do ye off your helmets, quoth Hagen, the bold knight. For I and my companion will guard ye all aright. And should the men of Etzel a fresh attack essay, so will I warn my masters with all the speed I may. 2082. The head was then uncovered of many a warrior good. They sat upon the fallen, who lay there steeped in blood, and had to death been smitten so lately by their hand. By many evil glances the noble guests were scanned. 2083. Before the fall of evening the king his measures took, the queen thereto assenting, that with some better luck the Hunnish knights might venture. Full 20,000 men were seen before him standing. To battle must they, then. 2084. Thereon with furious onslaught the strangers were attacked. And Dankwart, Hagen's brother, a man right swift to act, sprang from his lords, the foemen, before the door to rout. It seemed that he must perish, but safely gat he out. 2085. The deadly struggle lasted till stayed it was by night. As well became good heroes, the guests maintained the fight against the men of Etzel one whole long summer day. And ah, what gallant warriors about them dying lay. 2086. 'Twas at the summer solstice this slaughter great befell, whereby the dame Kriemhild avenged her heartache well upon her nearest kinsfolk, and many another wight. From that time royal Etzel knew nevermore delight. 2087. The day for them was ended in great anxiety. It seemed to them 'twere better a speedy death to die than linger there, awaiting some dread, unheard of pain. Therefore the haughty warriors to beg a truce were fain. 2088. The king, by word, besought they to come unto them there. These heroes, blood bespattered and soiled with armor wear, from out the palace followed the noble kings all three. They knew not to what hearer to plead their misery. 2089. Both Etzel and Kriemhild came thither them before. The land was their possession. Their host grew more and more. The king spake to the strangers. Say, what will ye of me? A truce ye would be granted? Such thing can hardly be. 2090. After such insult grievous as ye on me have cast, nor shall ye profit by it, if life for me should last. My child, that ye have slain me, and many of my kin, peace and atonement, surely ye cannot hope to win. 2091. Whereto made answer Gunther. By dire need we were led. My people all were lying before thy heroes dead. Within the hostel yonder, what pretext did I lend? To thee in good faith came I. I thought thou wert my friend. 2092. Then Giselher, the youngest of the Burgundian three. Ye chiefs, cried he, of Etzel, who living yet may be. How have I wronged ye, warriors? In what am I to blame? Unto this country riding, in kindly mood I came. 2093. They answered, every city throughout the land with woe is filled through this thy kindness. Aye, glad were we, I trow, if thou hadst ne'er come hither from Worms beyond the Rhine, the country thou hast orphaned with brothers twain of thine. 2094. Thereon, in wrathful humor, Gunther the warrior spake. If of this bitter hatred an ending ye would make with us, unhappy strangers, 'twere better for us both. 'Tis for no fault on our part what Etzel to us doth. 2095. Then to the guests the host said, your troubles and my own are nowise to be likened. The burden on me thrown, of shame and loss together, which I have had to bear. For this not one among you, hence with his life shall fare. 2096. Thereon the stalwart Gernot made answer to the king. So then may God incline you to do a friendly thing. And ye must slay us strangers. Then let us come to you from here unto the open. Thus honor bids you do. 2097. Whatever to us may happen, be it done out of hand. So many whole men have ye, who us will dare withstand, that none of us, strife weary, alive they'll let away. For how long are we warriors in this distress to stay? 2098. The warriors of Etzel would have agreed thereto, that they outside the palace be granted leave to go. But when Kriemhild heard it, sorely aggrieved was she. Then for the outcast strangers no hope of peace could be. 2099. Nay, nay, ye Hunnish warriors, the thing ye have in thought, in good faith I advise ye, see that ye do it not. These murder-wreaking fellows let not without the hall, else shall right deadly sorrows upon your kinsmen fall. 2100. Though not another living, save Uta's sons there were, these same, my noble brothers, and they but to the air came out to cool their hauberks. Your hope were all forlorn. More valiant warriors never into this world were born. 2101. Then Giselher, the youngest, said, fairest sister mine, right ill I did to trust you, when from beyond the Rhine unto this land thou badst me, into this direful strait. How have I from the huntsfolk deserved this cruel fate? 2102. To thee I e'er was faithful, I never did thee hurt, and on the understanding I hither rode to court, that thou, most noble sister, wert well disposed to me. Be merciful towards us, not elsewise can it be. 2103. I cannot show you mercy, unmerciful am I. For me hath Tronian Hagen wrought so much misery, it may not be atoned for. As long as I have life, ye all must pay the forfeit. So answered Etzel's wife. 2104. Yet will ye Hagen only to me as hostage give. I will not say for certain, I may not let you live, seeing ye are my brothers, and of one mother bred. Then with these chiefs assembled, I may of pardon read. 2105. Now God in heaven forfend it. Gernot in answer said, were there 1,000 of us, we sooner all were dead. Though of thy kith and kindred, ere we gave up to thee a single man as hostage. Nay, that can never be. 2106. Then are we doomed to perish. Made answer Giselher. Yet no one shall deprive us of any knightly gear. Here, as before, abide we. Would any us assail? For ne'er to any comrade did I in fealty fail. 2107. Then spake the gallant Dankwart. By him, 'twas meetly done. In sooth my brother Hagen standeth not yet alone. They who a truce deny us may yet have cause to rue. Of that will make you certain. Take ye my word as true. 2108. The queen spake to her warriors. Ye men of courage high, go closer to the stairway. Avenge mine injury. Then will I be your debtor, as I by all means should. I would requite on Hagen his overweening mood. 2109. Let no man leave the palace. I charge ye above all. I will, at the four corners, have fire set to the hall. So all the wrongs I've suffered, right well avenged shall be. The warriors of Etzel were ready speedily. 2110. Those that without were standing, they drave the hall within, by smiting and by shooting. And fearful was the din. Yet never would the princes their faithful men forsake. Their fealty to each other could neither of them break. 2111. Then Etzel's wife gave bidding to set alight the hall. And so with fire were tortured those warriors' bodies all. Caught by the wind, the palace was presently aflame. I ween that people never to such dire anguish came. 2112. Oh, woe upon this horror! Cried many a one inside. For us it had been better had we in battle died. May God have pity on us. Lost evermore are we. On us the queen her anger now wreaks infernally. 2113. Quoth one within the palace. Needs must we all lie dead. What profits us the greeting that from the king we had? The burning heat so sorely with thirst doth torture me. I trow that in this torment my life will quickly flee. 2114. Then Hagen spake, of Tranche. Ye noble knights and good, who are by thirst is troubled, may quench it here with blood. In heat like this 'tis better than wine of any kind. And at this time, moreover, no better may ye find. 2115. So went one of the warriors to where a corpse he found. He knelt to where the wound was. His helmet he unbound. And then he fell to drinking the oozing stream of blood. Unused as he was to it, he thought it passing good. 2116. Requite thee God, Sir Hagen. That man so weary spake, seeing that thou hast taught me so well my thirst to slake. A better wine right seldom hath been poured out for me. Live I for some while longer, I'll I be bound to thee. 2117. The rest being told about it, and how he found it good. Then were there many others, who also drank the blood. Thereby each one among them began to gain new life. In dear ones it was paid for by many a goodly wife. 2118. Within the hall about them, the sparks fell thick around. Upon their shields they caught them, and turned them to the ground. The fire and smoke together distressed them terribly. I trow that heroes never felt greater misery. 2119. Then Trony and Hagen shouted, stand closer to the wall. Let not the burning embers upon your helmbands fall, but in the blood more deeply trample them with your feet. This feast the queen hath made us is but a sorry treat. 2120. In such distressful doings, the night to ending war, and still the gallant minstrel kept watch the house before, with Hagen his companion. Upon their shields they leant, from Etzel's folk awaiting some further detriment. 2121. Then spake the fiddle player, now go we to the hall. So shall the Huns imagine that each of us and all have perished in this torture that hath on us been done. Yet shall they see us meet them in battle, everyone. 2122. Then Giselher, the youngest, Of the Burgundians, spake. A cool wind is arising. I trow the day will break. Now grant us, God of heaven, on better times to fall. For us my sister Kriemhild hath made ill festival. 2123. Then spake there yet another. The dawning I can see. And since for us not better is ever like to be, do on your armor, heroes. See to your safety all. King Etzel's wife, I doubt not, will quickly on us fall. 2124. The host might well imagine that all the guests were slain by dint of all their labors, or by the fiery pain. Yet still of them were living 600 gallant wights, than whom no king whatever had any better knights. 2125. They who the strangers guarded had failed not to espy that still the guests were living, in spite of injury and pains that had befallen. The lords and liegemen too, quite sound they saw them pacing the chamber to and fro. 2126. 'Twas told unto Kriemhild that they were safe and well. Whereto the queen made answer, it ne'er were possible that through the fiery torment any of them have stayed. I'd rather take for granted that all of them lie dead. 2127. The princes and their liegemen were fain enough to live, had anyone been willing mercy to them to give. None could they find of any within the Hunnish land, so to avenge their dying they sought with willing hand. 2128. Towards the dawn of morning they had, for greeting fair, a dire assault of battle. In straits the heroes were, though thickly all amongst them stout javelins were thrown. The brave and noble warriors, like true knights, held their own. 2129. The zeal of Etzel's people was quickened by desire that they from Queen Kriemhild might earn the promised hire. Moreover they were eager to do the king's command, and so no few among them found speedy death at hand. 2130. Of promising and giving might wondrous tales be told. She bade her folk on bucklers to bring the ruddy gold. She gave to all who craved it, and would accept her fee. Aye, ne'er was greater guerdon spent for an enemy. 2131. A mighty force of warriors came in their panoply. To them cried gallant Volker, here waiting still are we. I ne'er saw knights more gladly go forth to face the foe than these who the king's bounty have taken for our woe. 2132. Then many of them shouted, come nigh, ye heroes, pray, that we may have our ending. Aye, come without delay. Here none there are remaining, but have been doomed to die. With shafts one saw their bucklers all bristling speedily. 2133. What have I more to tell you? A good 1200 men made onset sore upon them. Again and yet again the strangers cooled their fury by wounding many a one. No truce could be between them. One saw the life blood run. 2134. From wounds of deadly deepness, and many were there slain, and every man among them one heard for friends complain. The mighty king and noble lost all his bravest there, for whom their loving kinsfolk sore sorrow had to bear. Adventure. Chapter 37. How the Margrave Rudiger was slain. 2135. The strangers, until morning, Right gallantly had done. By then Gottlinda's husband unto the court had gone. And, looking round on all sides, he saw such horrors there, as moved to inward weeping. True-hearted Rudiger. 2136. Woe's me, then said the warrior, that ere I saw the day. To think that none availeth this misery to stay. Though peace would I make gladly, the king will ne'er agree. For more and more he dwelleth upon his injury. 2137. Good Rudiger inquiring straightway to Dietrich sent, if they might make between them. The noble king relent. But he of Bern made answer, who could avail thereto? King Etzel wills that no one should come betwixt the two. 2138. Now by a Hunnish warrior Sir Rudiger was seen, with eyes bedimmed with weeping, as they for long had been. Unto the queen then spake he, now look how standeth he, the man who hath with Etzel the most authority. 2139. And who hath at his service the people and the land. How many a castle is there in Rudiger's command, of which, through the king's bounty, so many he may own. Yet he throughout this struggle no worthy stroke hath done. 2140. Methinks he little recketh if things go well or ill, as long as he hath all things according to his will. 'Tis said that he is braver than other men mote be, but that, in all this trouble, hath been full hard to see. 2141. The warrior true-hearted, with downcast mood and grim, gave heed unto the speaker. The hero looked on him, and thought, this shalt thou pay for. Thou say'st I am afraid. Thou hast at court thy story somewhat too loudly said. 2142. His fists to clench began he, and at him straight he ran, and smote to such good purpose upon that Hunnish man, that lifeless on the instant him at his feet he laid. But thus King Etzel's troubles were all the greater made. 2143. Away with thee, base scoundrel. Thereon said Rudiger, of trouble and of sorrow I have enough to bear. If I refrain from fighting, why tauntest me for that? In sooth I have good reason to bear the stranger's hate. 2144. And all that strength availed me I had against them wrought, were't not that I the warriors myself have hither brought. 'Twas I, in sooth, who led them into my master's land. I cannot raise against them, therefore, my luckless hand. 2145. Then answer to the Margrave the great King Etzel made. O Rudiger most noble, how hast thou lent us aid? So many dead already we in the land must own. No more of them were needed. Much evil hast thou done. 2146. The noble knight made answer. The fellow made me wroth by casting up against me the wealth and honor both that by thy hands so freely have been bestowed on me. The liar got his guerdon a whit unluckily. 2147. Now came the queen unto them, who eke had plainly seen what, through the hero's anger, the Huns' reward had been. Beyond all bounds complained she. Tears from her eyes she shed. To Rudiger thus spake she. How have we merited? 2148. That you the king's misfortune and mine make all the more. At all times, noble Rudiger, you promised heretofore that you would in our service Risk honor and eke life. I've heard the knights award you the meed in many a strife. 2149. The goodwill that you pledged me, to you I will recall. When me you urged on Etzel, O knight excelling all, to wit, that you would serve me, till one of us was dead. And ne'er had I, poor woman, thereof such desperate need. 2150. In that thou speak'st not falsely, I pledged thee, noble dame, that I for thee would venture my life and my fair fame. To lose my soul, however, that swear I not at all. I brought these high-born princes unto this festival. 2151. O Rudiger, she answered, thy steadfast loyalty, and eke thine oath forget not, that thou mine injury wouldst cease not to avenge me, and all my trouble sore. Then said to her the Margrave, I ne'er have failed before. 2152. Then likewise mighty Etzel to supplicate began, and on their knees before him they too besought the man. Then seemed the noble Margrave sorely discomfited. The ever faithful warrior right sorrowfully said. 2153. Now God have pity on me, that I have lived for this. Henceforward all mine honor I must for I dismiss my truth and noble breeding, that erst from God I got. Woe on me, God in heaven, that death hath saved me not. 2154. Whichever side I part from, to take the other one, I shall have acted basely, and grievous ill have done. But if from both I sever, on all sides blame I have. May he vouchsafe to guide me, who life unto me gave. 2155. Yet still they urged him straitly, the king and eke his wife. Thence came it many a warrior ere long must lose his life, by Rudiger's achieving, till eke that hero fell. Now of his direful doing I must the story tell. 2156. He knew how this must evil and fearful sorrow bring, and liefer would he therefore denial to the king, and eke the queen, have given. Full sorely feared he that, if e'er a guest he slaughtered, the world would bear him hate. 2157. Unto the king then spake he, that man of spirit bold, Lord King, take back whatever from thee I have and hold. Both land and burgs, with neither will I have aught to do, but on my feet departing, will into exile go. 2158. Then spake the royal Etzel, who then will succor me? The land as well as castles, all will I give to thee, if thou upon my foemen avenge me, Rudiger. Thou lt be a mighty sovereign of Etzel nigh the peer. 2159. But Rudiger made answer, how could I this essay? At home within my dwelling I bade them come and stay. Of drink and meat I offered to them in kindly wise, and gave them gifts. How can I now death for them devise? 2160. The folk belike are thinking that I am cowardly, my services in nothing to them did I deny, or to the noble princes, or any of their men, that we are knit in friendship. Repenteth me amain. 2161. I gave away my daughter to Giselher the Thane. In all the world she could not have looked for better gain, in honor or good breeding, in truth or worldly gear. I ne'er saw prince so youthful, in virtuous mind his peer. 2162. But yet again spake Kriemhild. Right noble Rudiger. Now let our grievous trouble. For both your pity stir. For me and the king also. And bear ye well in mind. That never host was fated. Such baleful guests to find. 2163. Then to the noble lady. The Margrave answer made. Today, with life. Must ransom. By Rudiger be paid. For what to me of kindness. Thou and my lord have shown. For that 'cause I must perish. And it must now be done. 2164. This very day, well know I. My castles and my land. Must, ownerless, fall to you. Through what ye now command. My wife and child commend I. Unto your gracious care. And eke the hapless people. That at Bloedelin are. 2165. Now Rudiger, God bless thee. The king in answer said. He and the queen together. Exceeding glad were made. Right well unto thy people. Our care we both will give. Though if good luck be with me. I trust thou yet mayst live. 2166. And so upon the venture. Body and soul he cast. Whereon the wife of Etzel began to weep at last. Said he, what I have promised, I must to you fulfill. Woe for my friends, whose foemen I am against my will. 2167. Then from the king one saw him depart in mournful mood. And to his warriors turning, who close beside him stood, he spake, to don your armor. 'Tis time, my liegemen all. On yonder brave Burgundians. Alas! I needs must fall. 2168. They bade their folk then hasten. To where their arms were found. Haply it were a helmet. Or else a buckler round. Whatever it was they wanted. Their servants brought the same. Ere long the baleful tidings to the proud exiles came. 2169. So Rudiger in armor. With men 500 went. Besides a dozen warriors. Who help unto him lent. These would the meed of valor win in the stormy fray. They had but little warning. That death so near them lay. 2170. Then Rudiger in helmet. One saw march on before. Keen-edged were all the weapons. The Margrave's liegemen bore. And broad the shining bucklers. Upon their arms as well. 'Twas all seen by the fiddler. Sore ruth upon him fell. 2171. Young Giselher beheld, too. The father of his bride. With fast-bound helmet marching. That this could aught betide. Save what was good and friendly. How could he then forebode? The noble prince was therefore exceeding glad of mood. 2172. Now such like friends be welcome. Said Giselher the Thane. Which we upon our journey have had the luck to gain. Of my betrothed lady. Will profit here right well. I'm glad, upon my honor. This plighting ere befell. 2173. I know not what doth cheer you. The minstrel answer made. When saw you ere for friendship? So many knights arrayed. With fastened helmets marching. And bearing sword in hand. By us will Rudiger pay for his castles and his land. 2174. E'en as the fiddle player of speaking made an end. One saw the noble Rudiger before the palace wend. His goodly shield he lowered, and set before his feet. He could not offer service. His friends he might not greet. 2175. Then cried the noble Margrave to those within the hall. Be on your guard, I warn you. Ye valiant Nibelungs all. Ye should have had my succor. Now must ye ransom me. Once were we friends, now will I be from the troth pledge free. 2176. They shuddered at these tidings. Those sorely troubled men. For them but little comfort there was therefrom to gain, since he would fight against them, whom they had held so dear. From foes they had already had mickle ills to bear. 2177. Now granted, God in heaven, the warrior Gunther said, that you will let your pity be moved to our aid, and that abounding honor, which hope unto us gave, much liefer would I trust you, thus never to behave. 2178. I can in no wise help it. The brave man said thereto, in battle I must meet you, since so I swore to do. Now guard yourselves, bold heroes, as ye your lives hold dear. From me the wife of Etzel would no refusal hear. 2179. Too late dost thou forswear us. The great king answer made. Thou, Rudiger most noble, by God shalt be repaid for all the love and fealty that thou to us hast shown. If thou wilt in thy kindness still to the end go on. 2180. And will be I beholden for all that thou didst give, myself and eke my kinsfolk, if thou lt but let us live. Those precious gifts thou gavest, what time, in good faith, here to Etzel's land thou ledst us. Think of it, Rudiger. 2181. How gladly would I do it, said Rudiger the Thane, as willingly at this time as ever I was fain, my gifts in full abundance upon you to bestow. No blame should I thereover e'er need to undergo. 2182. Then have thy way, said Gernot. O noble Rudiger, for never yet to strangers a welcome kindlier by any host was bidden than thou to us didst give. Of that thou hast the profit, if we should longer live. 2183. Would God, most noble Gernot, said Rudiger again, that ye were back in Rhineland, and I myself were slain with some degree of honor, since I with you must fight. From friends have heroes never suffered such foul despite. 2184. Now God reward thee, Rudiger, spake Gernot in reply, for those rich gifts thou gavest. I grieve that thou shouldst die, if with thee there must perish a mind so virtuous too. Here carry I the weapon thou gavest me, hero true. 2185. And never hath it failed me in all this struggle dread, and many a knight hath fallen beneath its edges, dead. Strong is it and well tempered, a good and handsome blade. I ween a gift so worthy by knight will ne'er be made. 2186. And should we not persuade thee to come unto our side, if friends of mine thou slayest, who still within abide, with thine own sword I'll smite thee, and take away thy life. Thee, Rudiger, I pity, and eke thy noble wife. 2187. Now would to God, Sir Gernot, that thus it e'en might be, that all your will and purpose might be fulfilled on me, whereby your kinsmen longer might yet enjoy their life. Aye, gladly would I trust you, with daughter and with wife. 2188. Then spake the young Burgundian, The child of Ute fair. Why do you thus, Sir Rudiger? All these who with me are. To you are well disposed. An evil course you take. Your daughter fair too early. A widow you will make. 2189. If you and your retainers in strife contend with me, how grievously unfriendly will that appear to be? In that beyond all others, my faith in you I laid, in such wise that your daughter, my wife I would have made. 2190. Unto your pledge be faithful, O Prince of noble race. Said Rudiger, if haply God send you from this place, suffer not that the maiden for me atonement make. Be pitiful towards her, for your own virtue's sake. 2191. That would I do right gladly. Young Giselher replied. But these my high-born kinsmen, who still are here inside, if they at your hands perish, the friendship firmly knit with you and eke your daughter by me must be acquit. 2192. Then God have mercy on us. The gallant warrior spake. Thereon they raised their bucklers, as though a way to make, by force, unto the strangers, within Kriemhilde's hall. Then loudly from the stairway was Hagen heard to call. 2193. Now for a while yet tarry, most noble Rudiger. Such were the words of Hagen. We would again confer, myself and eke my masters, forced by necessity. How will it profit Etzel, if we poor exiles die? 2194. I am in grievous trouble. Yet Hagen said, the shield that Lady Godelinda gave me as mine to wield, the Huns for me have battered, and hacked it out of hand. In friendliness I brought it unto King Etzel's land. 2195. If so be God in heaven would grant me of his grace to hold as good a buckler once more before my face as that which thou dost handle, right noble Rudiger, no longer in the combat need I a hauberk wear. 2196. Right gladly would I serve thee, as touching this my shield, durst I make thee the offer, in spite of Dame Kriemhild. But do thou take it, Hagen, and bear it on thine hand. Aye. What if thou shouldst bring it to thy Burgundian land? 2197. When he to give the buckler so readily agreed, then were their eyes in plenty, that with hot tears were red. Of gifts it was the latest, that unto warrior heir by Rudiger was given, the lord of Giselher. 2198. How fierce soe'er was Hagen, however hard in mood, yet stirred that gift his pity, with which the warrior good, so nigh to his last moments, had freely him endowed, and with him fell to weeping, full many a chieftain proud. 2199. Now God in heaven reward thee, most noble Rudiger. The like of thee will never be met with anywhere, who unto exiled warriors so royally dost give. God grant that all thy virtue for evermore may live. 2200. Woe's me for this betiding, said Hagen yet again. We've had to bear already so great a load of pain. Must we with friends be striving? Now God our refuge be. Then made the Margrave answer. It grieves me bitterly. 2201. Your gift I'll now requite you, most noble Rudiger. How are these high-born warriors themselves towards you bear? To wit that here in battle you ne'er shall feel my hand, though all by you should perish. Of the Burgundian land. 2202. In courtly wise he bent him. The worthy Rudiger. On all sides they were weeping. That such heart sorrows were by no one to be mended. A dread necessity. The father of all virtues. In Rudiger would die. 2203. Then from the house door speaking. The minstrel Volker said. Since my companion Hagen a truce with you has made, to you I also promise safe conduct from my hand. For well have you deserved it. Since came we to the land. 2204. You must, most noble Margrave, be messenger of mine. These ruddy golden armlets gave me the Margravine, that I should surely wear them here at the revelry. You must yourself behold them, and witness bear for me. 2205. Would God in heaven allow it? Then answered Rudiger. The Margravine should give you still more of such to wear. Unto my wife your message right gladly will I give. Thereof be ye not doubtful, if I to see her live. 2206. And even whilst he promised, his buckler Rudiger raised, and in mood of madness no longer could forbear, but rushed upon the strangers, a very warrior now, and fast the mighty Margrave dealt round him many a blow. 2207. Aloof together standing, Volker and Hagen stayed, according to the promise the warriors twain had made. Yet more, as gallant, found he waiting beside the door, whence Rudiger the battle began with trouble sore. 2208. With murderous intention he was allowed therein by Gunther and by Gernot, who heroes should have been. But Giselher aside stood, so great his sorrows were. For life he hoped, and therefore avoided Rudiger. 2209. Anon the Margrave's liegemen rushed forth upon the foe. Like warriors true one saw them after their leader go. They bore their keen-edged weapons ready in hand to wield, and many a helm they shattered, and many a noble shield. 2210. Many the swift strokes also the weary warriors spent on him of Bloedelin, that straight and surely went right through the bright mail armor, nigh to the very life, and glorious deeds of daring achieved they in that strife. 2211. When Rudiger's noble comrades within had made their way, Volker along with Hagen rushed swiftly to the fray. They gave to no one quarter, save to that single man. The blood through helmets, shattered by hands of either, ran. 2212. How grimly in that chamber the clang of swords uprose, and many of the shield plates sprang off beneath their blows. The jewels hacked from off them fell on the bloody floor. In such grim humor fought they, as might be never more. 2213. The Lord of Bloedelin went up and down the hall, as one who might in battle by strength accomplish all. By Rudiger's achievements that day it might be told, he was indeed a warrior, right praiseworthy and bold. 2214. Here also stood those warriors, Gunther and Gernot too, who in the stress of battle full many a hero slew, and Giselher and Dankwart, the twain recked not for aught, and so full many a warrior unto his last day brought. 2215. Well Rudiger bore witness that he was strong enow and brave, with proven armor. What heroes laid he low? 'Twas seen by a Burgundian. Wrath strove within him deep. On Rudiger the noble. Then death began to creep. 2216. Stout Gernot 'twas, who loudly the hero challenged then. He cried unto the Margrave, wilt thou of all my men not one unscathed leave me? Most noble Rudiger, it moves me beyond measure. The sight I cannot bear. 2217. Now lo! The gift you gave me to your own ruin tends. Since you have taken from me so many of my friends. Now turn towards me hither. Thou noble, gallant man. I'll make your gift avail me with all the skill I can. 2218. Or ever that the Margrave had won his way to him. Mail coats that erst were shining must needs be spoilt and dim. Then either at the other, thirsting for honor, ran. And each to guard his body from deadly wounds began. 2219. Yet smote their swords so keenly. Against them all was vain. And then was Gernot stricken by Rudiger the Thane. Athwart his flint-like helmet, till downward flowed the blood. All in a trice repaid him, that gallant knight and good. 2220. Aloft the gift of Rudiger in hand he swung, and though his own wound, too, was deadly, he dealt on him a blow right through his stalwart buckler, unto his helmet's slot. The fair Gottlinda's husband fell dead upon the spot. 2221. In sooth a gift so precious was worse requited ne'er. The two fell slain together, Gernot and Rudiger, like fated in the combat, each by the other's stroke. When this great loss to Hagen was known, his wrath outbroke. 2222. Thus spake the Tronian hero. In evil plight are we. In these two have we suffered so great an injury, as ne'er can be o'ertided by peoples or by lands. Now hold we Rudiger's chieftains as bale in luckless hands. 2223. Woe on me for my brother, who here in death doth lie. How cometh, every moment, some tale of misery, and I must mourn for ever the noble Rudiger. The loss to me is double, and grievous 'tis to bear. 2224. So Giselher, beholding his lady's father dead, and they who still were living, a grievous reckoning paid. Death fell upon them sorely, seeking to take his own. Of them from Bloedelin there lived ere long not one. 2225. Now Giselher and Gunther, and with them Hagen too, Dankwart and Volker also, all warriors good and true, came forward all together to where the twain were laid. Then was there by the heroes great lamentation made. 2226. Death sorely us despoileth, spake the lad Giselher. But make an end of weeping, and get we to the air, to cool our mail-clad bodies, worn as we are with strife. Here God, I ween, will grant us but scanty spell of life. 2227. Some sitting, others leaning. One saw there many a thane. They once again were idle, and round about them, slain, lay Rudiger's companions. The uproar all was laid. So long the silence lasted, that Etzel grew afraid. 2228. Woe on me for such service. Then spake the royal wife. These folk are not so trusty. that on our foeman's life shall vengeance do be taken. By Rudiger's command. He means to take them safely back to Burgundian land. 2229. What boots it us, King Etzel, that we with him and his have shared whatever he wanted? The chief hath done amiss. He who should wreak our vengeance doth wish a peace to gain. Thereunto answered Volker, the all-accomplished Thane. 2230. Not so, alas. The story. Most noble queen, I read. And, dare I charge with falsehood, a dame so nobly bred. The, devilishly lying. Of Rudiger, I heard. For he and his companions from peace have sorely erred. 2231. That which the king commanded, he did so zealously, that he and all his people dead in yon chamber lie. Now cast about, Kriemhilde, on errands whom to send. For Rudiger the hero hath served thee to the end. 2232. And wilt thou not believe me? See it thou shalt anon. And to her heartfelt sorrow, so was it straightway done. They bore the mangled hero before the king and queen. The thanes of Etzel never so sad a sight had seen. 2233. When they beheld the Margrave thus borne before them dead, no penman could have written, nor elsewise could be said, how manifold the mourning of women and of men, who one and all bore witness unto their heartfelt pain. 2234. The sorrowing of Etzel so great was, that the noise was even as a lion's. The mighty king his voice so lifted in his anguish, eke mourned his wife no less. Good Rudiger bewailed they with utmost bitterness. Adventure. Chapter 38. How Lord Dietrich's warriors all were slain. 2235. So great a sound of mourning on every side was heard, from palace walls and turrets. The echoes all were stirred by one of Dietrich's liegemen. Of Bern 'twas heard as well. How swiftly then he started the direful news to tell. 2236. Unto the prince then spake he, hearken, my lord Dietrich. As long as I've been living, ne'er have I heard the like of such unearthly wailing as I have heard but now. Some harm unto King Etzel himself hath come, I trow. 2237. How else would all the people be in distress so dread? The king, or maybe Kriemhild, must one of them be dead, slain by those daring strangers who bore them enmity, and many goodly warriors are wailing bitterly. 2238. Then spake of Bern the hero, my trusty lieges dear, now be ye not too hasty. What hath befallen here was wrought by homeless warriors, by dire distresses driven, and let them use the freedom that I to them have given. 2239. Then spake the gallant Wolfhart, I will myself be gone, and ask about the matter, what 'tis that they have done, and then I will report it to you, my master dear. When yonder I discover what mean the cries we hear. 2240. Thereon Lord Dietrich answered, when one has wrath to face, full oft, at ill-timed questions, 'tis found to be the case, that warriors too swiftly are apt offense to take. In truth I will not, Wolfhart, that you the quest should make. 2241. Thereon he summoned Helfrich, right speedily to go. And from the men of Etzel, he bade him get to know, or even from the strangers, what doings there had been. For ne'er such great lamenting of people was there seen. 2242. The envoy made inquiry. What hath there here been done? Then answered one among them. Now is for ever gone all that we had of pleasure in this Hungarian land. Here Rudiger lies slaughtered by the Burgundians' hand. 2243. Of those who entered with him, not one came out again. Then verily to Helfrich ne'er could be greater pain. In sooth he ne'er had carried news so unwillingly. The messenger to Dietrich went weeping bitterly. 2244. What hast thou, then said Dietrich, for us discovered? And wherefore, warrior Helfrich, thy tears so freely shed? Good cause have I for weeping, answered the noble thane. Good Rudiger is lying by the Burgundians slain. 2245. The knight of Bern made answer. God grant that may not be. That were a fearful vengeance, and foul fiend's pleasantry. How were such requital deserved by Rudiger? For well am I persuaded he held the strangers dear. 2246. Thereto made Wolfhart answer. If they this deed have done, it verily shall cost them the life of everyone. To us would be disgraceful if this we were to stand. For Rudiger has served us right often with his hand. 2247. But Amelung's chieftain bade them better informed to be. Meanwhile within his window right mournfully sat he, and Hildebrand enjoined he unto the guests to go, that he whatever had happened from them might surely know. 2248. That warrior bold in battle, the ancient Hildebrand, nor shield nor any weapon took with him in his hand. He to the guests was going in courtesy alone. But sore were the upbraidings made by his sister's son. 2249. For spake the fiery Wolfhart, wilt thou so simply go? Then certes some misusage thou wilt not fail to know. So, full of grief and trouble, thou needs must homeward fare. But if thou takest thy weapons, they each will have a care. 2250. Then did the ancient gird him, e'en as the stripling bade. But lo! Before he knew it, in fighting gear arrayed, were standing Dietrich's warriors, with drawn sword everyone. This thing the hero liked not, and gladly had foregone. 2251. He asked where they were going. Along with you will fare. Perchance Hagen of Tranche, so much the less may dare, with mocking speech to meet you, which well he knows to use. When that he heard, the warrior no longer could refuse. 2252. The gallant Volker saw them in armor fully dight. Those knights of Bern come marching, all Dietrich's men of might. Their swords were girt upon them, they carried shield in hand. Unto his lords he told it, of the Burgundian land. 2253. Then spake the fiddle player. Yonder I see them go, the followers of Dietrich, in semblance of a foe, with weapons and in helmets. Us mean they to withstand. I trow for us poor exiles, misfortune is at hand. 2254. E'en at the selfsame moment came Hildebrand to him, and at his feet his buckler he set upon its rim. The followers of Gunther To question then he sought. Alas! What harm, good heroes, to you hath Rudiger wrought? 2255. Me hath my master Dietrich sent unto you to say, if any one among you hath by his hand this day laid low the noble Margrave, as we are told by some, an injury so grievous we ne'er could overcome. 2256. Then Hagen spake of Tranche. No lie the tidings are, though fain I were to grant you, for love of Rudiger, that they had lied who told you, and he were still in life. He must be ever wept for, by man and maid and wife. 2257. When all knew, of a surety, that Rudiger was dead, the warriors bewailed him, as love and fealty bade. From each of Dietrich's liegemen, one saw the tears-drops fall, o'er chin and beard descending. Sore was the grief of all. 2258. Then Siege Stab out speaking. The Duke from Bern, said he, forever now is ended the hospitality that Rudiger I showed us, after our days of pain. The comfort of the exile lies by you heroes slain. 2259. Then from among the Amelungs, the warrior Wulfwin said, were I this day before me, to see my father dead, ne'er could I feel more sorrow than at this stricken life. Alas! Who now will comfort the worthy Margrave's wife? 2260. Thereon in mood of anger, the Thane Sir Wulfhart cried, who on so many a foray shall now the warriors guide, as heretofore the Margrave hath times right often done? Alas, most noble Rudiger, that thou from us art gone. 2261. There Helfrich and Wulfbrand and Helmut also were, with all their friends, bewailing the death of Rudiger. And Hildebrand for sobbing could ask no more of aught. He spake, now do ye, warriors, that which my lord hath sought. 2262. Give Rudiger's dead body to us from out the hall, with whom, in very sorrow, our joys are ended all. And let us now requite him for all that he hath done for us, in faithful friendship, and many another one. 2263. We also here are strangers, like the Thane Rudiger. Why do ye keep us waiting? Let us his body bear away, to him our service, e'en after death to give. Far rather had we done it whilst he were yet alive. 2264. No service is so worthy. Then the King Gunther spake, as that for a dead comrade a friend doth undertake. And steadfast faith I call it, where'er the same I find. Ye pay him honor rightly, to you he hath been kind. 2265. How long must we be pleading? Wulfhart the warrior said, since our best consolation by you is stricken dead, and we, alas, no longer the good thereof may have. So let us take the chieftain and lay him in his grave. 2266. Thereto made answer Volker, he shall be given by none. Come to the hall and take him here where the Thane, for done with deadly wounds disfigured, lies in the bloody pool. That were to do your duty to Rudiger in full. 2267. Thereon bold Wulfhart answered, Sir Minstrel, God doth know. No need have ye to taunt us. Ye've done us harm enow. Durst I offend my master? You'd be the worse for this. But we must pass it over, since strife forbidden us is. 2268. Then spake the fiddle player. Fear claims too much, I trow. When all that is forbidden, a man must needs forego. By me that were not reckoned. A right good hero's mood. The speech of his companion seemed unto Hagen good. 2269. That shall not serve your purpose. Wolfheart in answer spake. I'll so untune your fiddle, that you a tale may take along with you, when homewards unto the Rhine you ride. I cannot brook with honor your overweening pride. 2270. Then spake the fiddle player. If thou a fiddle string of mine untuneful makest, thy helmet's glittering must speedily be lessened, and clouded by my hand. How betide my riding to the Burgundian land. 2271. He would have sprung upon him, if he had not been stayed by Hildebrand his uncle, who hands upon him laid. In this thy senseless anger, thou wouldst, I trow, go mad, and so my master's favour mightst never more have had. 2272. Let go the lion, master. Fierce though he be of mood, comes he into my clutches. Said Volker, warrior good. E'en though a world of people he with his hands hath slain, I'll kill him, that the story he ne'er may tell again. 2273. By this was sorely quickened the burner's angry mood, and Wolfheart clutched his buckler. A ready knight and good, e'en he a savage lion. In front of them he rushed, whilst following close behind him, his friends the onset pushed. 2274. Yet though he sprang so swiftly to reach the palace wall, he could not on the stairway old Hildebrand forestall, who would not that another first in the fight should be. Their guerdon from the strangers they both got presently. 2275. Then quickly upon Hagen sprang Master Hildebrand. The clashing of the sword blades was heard on either hand. Their wrath was sorely kindled, as presently was plain. A fiery stream was scattered from off their weapons twain. 2276. Yet quickly were they sundered under the stress of fight. The men of Bern so caused it, prevailing in their might. Whereon away from Hagen betook him Hildebrand, and needs must gallant Volker stout Wolfheart's onset stand. 2277. He smote the fiddle player upon his helmet good, so bravely that the sword edge unto the sidebands hewed. The fiddler bold repaid him with all his might and main, and laid his blows on Wolfheart until he reeled again. 2278. They struck from the mail armor of fiery sparks enow. Their hate for one another was felt in every blow. Then came the warrior Wolfwin of Bern the twain between. Had he not been a hero, that never could have been. 2279. The warrior Gunther also gave with unstinting hand a welcome to the heroes, far famed of Amelung land. And Giselher the lordly made helms that shone before on head of many a warrior, ruddy and wet with gore. 2280. And Dankwart, Hagen's brother, a fearsome man was he, whatever he, already, on Etzel's chivalry, in battle had accomplished, e'en as the wind was not. The son of the bold Aldrian now like a madman fought. 2281. Richard and Gerbart likewise. Helfrich and eke Wichert. Who oftentimes in battle right well had played their part, now plainly showed their prowess. To Gunther's fighting men, Wolfbrand in combat proudly was seen to bear him then. 2282. And like a madman raging, fought ancient Hildebrand, full many a doughty warrior. Then fell by Wolfhart's hand, death-stricken by his sword blows, into the pool of blood. Thus Rudiger avenged they, these gallant knights and good. 2283. Then fought the noble Siegstab, as of his might was due. Ha! And upon his foemen, what goodly helmets too were shivered in the battle. By Dietrich's sister's son, he could not in the struggle ere better work have done. 2284. Thereon the sturdy Volker, as soon as he beheld how from the tough mail armor the blood in streamlets welled, at gallant Siegstab's sword strokes the hero's wrath arose. Forward he sprang to meet him, and so his life to lose. 2285. Upon the spot had Siegstab, through that same fiddleman, who forthwith of his cunning to give such proof began, that by his mighty weapon quick death must needs ensue. Old Hildebrand avenged him, as of his strength was due. 2286. Woe, for my lord beloved, cried Master Hildebrand, who here in death is lying, stricken by Volker's hand. Henceforth this fiddle player shall save himself no more. Bold Hildebrand was wrathful, as ne'er he was before. 2287. Then smote he so at Volker, that far to either wall the bands and clasps in pieces were strown about the hall, from helm and eke from buckler, of that same minstrel bold, and so of sturdy Volker. The ending there was told. 2288. The liegemen then of Dietrich came thronging to the rout. They smote till from the hauberks the links flew far about, and splintered weapons saw one. As high in air they flew, hot flowing blood in streamlets from out the helms they drew. 2289. When Hagen, lord of Tranche, saw Volker lying slain, more grievous was his sorrow than all the other pain that in this high foregathering he had for man or kin. What vengeance for the hero did Hagen then begin? 2290. It shall not long advantage the old man Hildebrand, that yonder lies my helpmate, slain by the hero's hand, the veriest good comrade that ever yet I had. He raised his shield, and forward he rushed with hewing blade. 2291. Meanwhile the stalwart Helfrich had stricken Dankwart low, to Giselher and Gunther. Grievous it was enow, when in the stress of battle they saw him fall beneath. With his own hands already he had avenged his death. 2292. Now all this while did Wolfhart stride up and down again, and with his sword unresting he hewed at Gunther's men. A third time he the journey had made along the hall, and many were the warriors doomed by his hand to fall. 2293. Then Giselher the lordly to Wolfhart loudly spake. Woe! That so fierce a foeman 'twas ere my luck to make. O noble knight and gallant, now turn thyself to me. I'll do my best to end it. It may no longer be. 2294. To Giselher, in fighting. Then Wolfheart turned him round. And each upon the other made many a gaping wound. With such a mighty onset against the king he dashed. The blood beneath his footsteps above his head was splashed. 2295. With swift and deadly swordstrokes the son of Ute fair gave greeting unto Wolfheart, the gallant hero, there. How strong the thanes soever, he was not to be saved. So young a king could never more boldly have behaved. 2296. He struck a blow at Wolfheart, cleaving the hauberk good, and over him and downwards gushed from the wound the blood. Unto the death he wounded that man of Dietrich's own. None but a very warrior to do the like had known. 2297. As soon as gallant Wolfheart was of the wound aware, he let his shield slip downwards, but higher in the air. A weapon strong he wielded. It was a keen one too, wherewith through helm and hauberk the hero Giselher slew. 2298. So had they one another to cruel death fordone. And then of Dietrich's lieges there lived but one alone. When Hildebrand the ancient beheld how Wolfheart fell, I trow, until his ending, such grief he ne'er could tell. 2299. The men-at-arms of Gunther were dead now everyone, as likewise those of Dietrich. And Hildebrand had gone unto the place where Wolfheart was lying in the blood. Within his arms he folded that warrior brave and good. 2300. Fain would he from the chamber have borne him bodily, but he was all too weighty. He e'en must let him lie, the dying man uplifted his eyes amid the blood, and saw well that his kinsman would help him if he could. 2301. My well-beloved uncle, the dying one then said, at this time it avails not to give me any aid. Now wear you well of Hagen. I, take my words for good. For in his heart he nurses an ever-cruel mood. 2302. If after death my kinsfolk for me should mourning be, unto my next and dearest, I bid you say for me, that they for me must weep not. Need for it is there none. Here lie I slain in honor, by kingly hands fordone. 2303. So throughly here, moreover, have I avenged my life. That cause indeed for wailing hath many a good knight's wife. If anyone should ask you, so may you answer plain. A good 50 are lying, whom I myself have slain. 2304. Meanwhile had Hagen likewise upon the minstrel thought, whom Hildebrand the valiant unto his end had brought. Then spake he to the warrior, my loss thou shalt requite, for here thou hast bereft us of many a goodly knight. 2305. He struck a blow at Hildebrand, such that one might have told the hissing sound of Balmung, the sword that Hagen bold from Siegfried's self had taken, when he that hero slew. The blow the old man parried. Aye, he was valiant too. 2306. The warrior of Dietrich against the Tronian knight, his weapon broad uplifted, that keenly too could smite, to wound the man of Gunther. Yet might he not prevail. Then once again smote Hagen through well-wrought coat of mail. 2307. Now when the old Sir Hildebrand was of the wound aware, more evil yet he dreaded from Hagen's hand to bear. His shield the man of Dietrich threw back behind his head. And, desperately wounded, the chief from Hagen fled. 2308. Of all the knightly warriors, remained there but a pair, save Gunther's self and Hagen. None others living were. Old Hildebrand all bleeding, in flight had safety sought. And when he came to Dietrich, a woeful tale he brought. 2309. He saw his master sitting, with visage woebegone. The prince was yet more sorry, when he his tale had done. Upon the bloody hauberk of Hildebrand looked he, and sought of him his tidings, in all anxiety. 2310. Now tell me, Master Hildebrand, why are ye in this state, and reeking with your life-blood? Or who hath done you that? I ween that in the palace you with the guests have fought. So strictly I forbade it, that ye in nowise ought. 2311. Unto his lord he answered, 'Twas Hagen did it all. He set on me and gave me this wound within the hall. E'en as I from the warrior to turn myself began, and hither from that devil barely with life I ran. 2312. Then he of Bern made answer, Ye are but served aright, seeing that ye had heard me swear friendship with the knight, and then ye break the peace pledge granted to him by me. Would it not ever shame me? Your life should forfeit be. 2313. Now be ye not so wrathful, my good lord Dietrich, pray on me and on my kinsfolk. The loss too hard doth weigh. We purposed from the palace to carry Rudiger, to grant it all unwilling. King Gunther's liegemen were. 2314. Now woe upon such tidings. Is Rudiger then dead? This is the greatest sorrow that e'er I suffered. The noble Godelinda is child of aunt of mine. I woe for the poor orphans who at Bechlaren pine. 2315. His death weight sorely on him, with ruth and sorrow great. He fell to bitter weeping. Sad was the hero's strait. Woe for my trusty helpmate, who now is lost to me. I of King Etzel's liegemen, the like I ne'er shall see. 2316. Now must ye, Master Hildebrand, tell me the story true. Which of the warriors was it who him so foully slew? That did the stalwart Gernot. By strength of arm, he said. By Rudiger's hand the hero is also lying dead. 2317. To Hildebrand then spake he, Now let my liegemen know that they must straightway arm them, for thither will I go, and bid them bring me hither my shirt of shining mail from the Burgundian heroes. Myself I'll have the tale. 2318. Then Hildebrand made answer, Who shall now go with thee? None others hast thou living, but what thou here dost see. I am thine only liegeman. The others all are dead. He shuddered at these tidings. In sooth, there was good need. 2319. For never such great sorrow he in this world had known. He spake, and if my liegemen are truly dead and gone, then am I God forsaken. I, Dietrich, wretched wight, erewhile a noble sovereign, and full of power and might. 2320. How could such thing have happened? Spake Dietrich once again. These far-renowned heroes, that all of them are slain by men with fighting weary, in sore necessity. But for mine evil fortune, death still afar would be. 2321. Seeing my doom avails not to ward from me this ill. Now tell me, of the guest folk, are any living still? Then Master Hildebrand answered, God knoweth, only twain. Hagen to wit, and Gunther, the noble king, remain. 2322. Dear wolf heart, woe betide me, if thou from me art torn. Too quickly may I rue me, that ever I was born. And siege stab and wolf win, and none the less wolf brand. Who now shall help my journey back to the Amelung's land? 2323. Helfrich the ever gallant, and have they laid him low? And Gearbart and Wichert, how weep for them enow? Of all my joy and pleasure, the ending is this day. Fain would I die for sorrow. Alas that no man may. Adventure. Chapter 39. How Gunther and Hagen and Kriemhild were slain. 2324. Then for himself Lord Dietrich sought out a suit to wear, and Master Hildebrand helped him to don his fighting gear. So sore was the lamenting made by the stalwart man, that all the house to echo with his loud voice began. 2325. But quickly he recovered a fitting hero's mood, and grimly was his armor donned by that warrior good. A shield compact right firmly he carried in his hand. Then straightway forth he sallied with Master Hildebrand. 2326. Spake Hagen, Lord of Trange, I see there, drawing nigh, the noble warrior Dietrich, for that great injury that here hath him befallen. He will upon us set. This day 'twill be discovered who doth the honors get. 2327. I. To himself Lord Dietrich of Bern doth think that ne'er his like, so strong of body and terrible there were. And should he for our doings a reckoning demand, so Hagen spake against him, I dare right well to stand. 2328. They heard the words of Hagen, Dietrich and Hildebrand. He came to where the warriors had taken both their stand without the house, together, leaning against the hull. His goodly shield had Dietrich upon its rim let fall. 2329. Then Dietrich spake in answer, grievously sorrowing, why hast thou done in this wise? O Gunther, mighty king, to me who am a stranger, to thee what had I done? All comfort that was left me is now for ever gone. 2330. With that great deed of vengeance ye were not yet content, when Rudiger the hero to bloody death you sent. Now have ye taken from me my liegemen everyone. Ah! Never to your heroes would I such scathe have done. 2331. Now of yourselves be mindful, and of your own distress, the death of friends and kinsfolk, your toil and weariness. Doth it not weigh upon you, good warriors, heavily? Alas, the death of Rudiger is bitterness to me. 2332. In this world never happened such woe to anyone. Ye took but ill account of my sorrow and your own. By you of all its pleasures my life henceforth is shorn. In truth I cannot ever my kinsfolk cease to mourn. 2333. In sooth, then answered Hagen, so guilty are we not. For verily your heroes came marching to this spot, well armed, for some set purpose, in such large company. To you methinks the story Was not told truthfully. 2334. What else should I believe then? 'Twas said by Hildebrand, that when my knights besought you, the men of Aimlung land, that you would give them Rudiger from out the palace hall. Naught else but gibes you offered to these bold heroes all. 2335. Then spake the king of Rhineland. They did their wish avow. Hence Rudiger to carry. That would I not allow. To do despite to Etzel. And not to cross your men. Till Wolfhart words unhandsome began to utter then. 2336. Then answered him the hero of Bern, so let it be. Yet Gunther, noble sovereign, now of thy courtesy, repay me for the sorrow that of thy doing came. And make, bold knight, atonement, that I confirm the same. 2337. Give up thyself as hostage, thou and thy liegemen there. Then I myself will guard ye with all my greatest care, lest any of the Hun folk should do ye aught of ill. In me thou shalt find nothing save faith and all goodwill. 2338. But Hagen spake in answer, now God in heaven forfend, that any pair of warriors themselves to thee should bend, who armed as yet so stoutly here stand before thine eyes, and still are all unfettered to face their enemies. 2339. Beware, Gunther and Hagen. Then Dietrich answer made, how ye refuse my offer. Ye twain on me have laid so sore a load of sorrow, on heart and spirit too. If ye amends will make me, that may ye cheaply do. 2340. I give you my true promise, and pledge it with my hand, that I myself will with you ride home unto your land. I'll guide you in all honor, or will myself be slain, and will, the while I serve you, forget my bitter pain. 2341. Now think thereon no longer. Hagen in answer bade, 'twere not a fitting story about us to be said, that two such doughty warriors had bowed to your demand. One sees beside you standing no one save Hildebrand. 2342. Then up spake Master Hildebrand, Sir Hagen, God doth know, seeing that one hath offered to make a peace with you, the hour is nigh when fitly the offer you might take. The peace my lord proposes, 'twere well for you to make. 2343. I'd sooner make atonement. In answer Hagen said, ere in such coward fashion from any place I fled, as thou hast done but lately, good Master Hildebrand, methought against a foeman thou couldst more boldly stand. 2344. Old Hildebrand made answer, why taunt'st thou me therefore, who sat upon his buckler the vast rock before, while friends of his so many the Spanish Walther slew? About thyself in plenty are things that one might shew. 2345. Then spake the noble Dietrich, it fits not heroes good to rail at one another, as any old wives would. You, Hildebrand, forbid I to wrangle any more. On me, a homeless warrior, are weighing troubles sore. 2346. Come let us hear, Sir Hagen. To him spake Dietrich then, what was it ye were saying, ye ready warriors twain, when first ye saw me coming to you in armor dight? Ye vowed that ye against me would singly stand in fight. 2347. That no man will deny you Thane Hagen made reply. And with some sturdy sword strokes. Here fain am I to try. Unless the blade of Nibelung within my hand should break. Wroth am I that you purpose us two in pledge to take. 2348. When Dietrich thus had hearkened to savage Hagen's mood, quickly his shield uplifted. That gallant thane and good. How swiftly Hagen toward him down from the stairway sprang. The goodly sword of Nibelung loudly on Dietrich rang. 2349. Then well the noble Dietrich knew that the valiant man right ruthless was in humor. The Lord of Bern began against this deadly onset to guard himself aright. To him well known was Hagen, that all-accomplished knight. 2350. Dread, too, had he of Baumung, a potent sword enow. From time to time yet Dietrich gave back a wily blow, until at last, in fighting, Hagen o'ermastered he. A single wound he dealt him. 'Twas deep and long to see. 2351. Bethought him then Lord Dietrich, thou art weakened by the strife. I should have little honor, were I to take thy life. Sooner will I make trial, if I may thee compel, to be to me a hostage. With trouble this befell. 2352. He let his shield fall downwards. Great was his strength of limb. And Trony and Hagen clasped he close in his arms to him. And thus was captive taken by him that gallant man. Whereat the noble Gunther sorely to grieve began. 2353. Then Dietrich led forth Hagen, fast bound, to where her stand the noble queen had taken, and gave into her hand the boldest of all warriors that ever weapon bare. Then had she joy in plenty for all her bitter care. 2354. For thanks the wife of Etzel unto the thane bent low, in heart and eke in body. For ever blessed be thou. Now hast thou well repaid me for my unhappy lot. For this I'll ever serve thee, if death prevent me not. 2355. Then answered the Lord Dietrich, his life thou e'en must spare. O noble queen! Then haply thou mayst become aware how well he will atone for all he hath done to thee. He must know it be worsened that him in bonds ye see. 2356. She bade them carry Hagen to durance vile away, and there imprisoned straitly. Unseen of men he lay. Gunther the noble sovereign aloud began to cry, where went that chief of Bern? He hath done me injury. 2357. Then presently to meet him the noble Dietrich came. Great was the might of Gunther, and well 'twas known to fame. Nor did he tarry longer. Before the hall he ran. From their two weapons meeting, a dreadful din began. 2358. Albeit that Lord Dietrich great fame long time had had, so sore was Gunther's anger. He raved like one gone mad. For deadly foe he held him. So bitter was his pain. 'Tis reckoned still a marvel that Dietrich was not slain. 2359. So strong and full of valor was either of the twain. The palace walls and turrets rang with their blows again, while on the goodly helmets with swords they hacked and hewed. Then, verily, King Gunther a royal courage shewed. 2360. Yet he of Bern o'ercame him, as likewise he had done to Hagen. through the hauberk. The hero's blood to run was seen, from that sharp weapon, wherewith Sir Dietrich clove. Yet, weary as was Gunther, he valiantly strove. 2361. Bound was the noble chieftain by Dietrich's hand alone. Although a king should never such bonds have undergone, he thought if he should leave them, the king and vassal, free, that all on whom they lighted, by them fordone must be. 2362. Dietrich of Bern then took him, a captive, closely bound, and by the hand he led him, where he Kriemhild found. At sight of his affliction, her sorrows greatly waned. She spake, "Be welcome, Gunther, of the Burgundian land." 2363. He spake, "I needs must thank thee, most noble sister mine, though I would fain a greeting more gracious have than thine. O Queen, well do I know thee, how wrathful is thy mood, and that for me and Hagen thou hast no greeting good." 2364. Of Bern then spake the hero, "Never, most noble queen, knights of such fair demeanor, your hostages have been, as these, most gracious lady, whom now to you I give. See that ye let the strangers, for my sake safely live." 2365. She vowed to do it gladly. So the Lord Dietrich came, his eyes with tears o'erflowing, from those two chiefs of fame. Soon vengeance sore upon them was wreaked by Etzel's wife. Of both these chosen warriors, she took away the life. 2366. Her evil mood obeying, apart she made them lie, that neither on the other. From that time forth said I, until in front of Hagen, her brother's head she laid. On both of them Kriemhild, her vengeance well repaid. 2367. For first the queen betook her, where she might Hagen see, and spake unto the warrior, "How full of enmity, what thou from me hast taken, if thou again wilt give, then home thou yet mayst journey, to Burgundy alive." 2368. But Hagen grim made answer, "You throw your words away, most noble queen, for truly I've sworn, and now I say, the treasure I will show not, so long as either one be living of my masters. I'll yield it up to none." 2369. Then will I end the matter. So spake the noble wife, and forthwith bade her liegemen to take her brother's life. They struck his head from off him, which by the hair she bore before the Tronian hero. Then was his grief full sore. 2370. For when, with sorrow stricken, he saw his master's head thereon unto Kriemhild, the warrior spake and said, "E'en as thou saidst, the matter thou hast to ending brought, and likewise all hath happened, as I beforehand thought." 2371. And now the noble sovereign of Burgundy is not, nor Giselher the stripling, and eke the Lord Gernot. None knoweth of the treasure, save God and me alone. And unto thee, she-devil, it never shall be known. 2372. Said she, "An evil guerdon dost thou to me award, yet in mine own possession I will have Siegfried's sword, which my beloved husband, when last I saw him, bare. That day when, by your doing, began my heartfelt care." 2373. She drew it from the scabbard. He could not hinder her, and of his life bethought her. to rid that warrior. With both her hands she swung it, and smote his head right off. King Etzel saw her do it. His grief was sore enough. 2374. The prince cried, Woe betide me! Lo! Now, how here is slain! And by a woman's doing. The very noblest thane that ever came to battle, or ever buckler bore. Albeit I was his foeman, I could not sorrow more. 2375. Old Hildebrand cried, Truly, she shall no gainer be, that she hath dared to slay him. Whatever befalleth me, although myself but lately to direst straits he brought, for this brave Tronian's murder, I'll yet have vengeance wrought. 2376. Then Hildebrand right wrathful upon Kriemhild leapt, and at the queen with broadsword a heavy stroke he swept. Aye, Hildebrand she dreaded with sore anxiety. But what could it avail her to shriek thus horribly? 2377. The bodies of the slaughtered were lying all around, and there the noble lady lay mangled on the ground. Dietrich along with Etzel fell bitterly to weep for kinsmen and for lieges. They mourned in sorrow deep. 2378. Their mickle pride and honor in death dishonored lay. The people all were stricken with pity and dismay. In sorrowing was ended the king's high festival, as loving ever in death, in sorrow after all. 2379. I cannot tell you plainly what later may have been, save that in bitter weeping were knights and ladies seen, and noble liegemen also, for friends beloved laid low. The story now is ended. This is the Nibelung's woe.